Oh.
Hey, there we go. Hello, everybody. How's it going? It's Sunday. It's the chat. It's Rasa and me here. We're back on my channel. Last week we were on Rasa's channel. This week we're here. Maybe next week go back to hers. We'll see how it goes.
We're gonna be
welcome.
doing like. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, we're gonna be doing
like a ping pong game. Like one channel, another channel.
Yeah, it'll be, and you'll have to just keep up. So, I mean, obviously, if you're not subscribed to Rasa, I can't imagine that anybody watching us isn't subscribed to you as well, too. But if you're not, make sure that you subscribe to hers as well. I'll try to remember to put the links down and stuff, which I'm really good at doing.
Yeah.
So how's it going? What's going on?
I'm doing okay. I'm finally took a bite and put that book on sale. On eBay. Yeah, I'll find out tomorrow.
Nice,
I'll find out tomorrow how much I'm gonna get for it. I'm not expecting. Look, it would be silly of me expecting to get that much money. What people asking for, which is a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, for deluxe edition comic book.
Yeah.
A book. Hardback, whatever. But I took a plunge. I was like, okay, it's time to do it. Like take pictures. I think it's all after our conversation on Sunday. On Monday, I started thinking about it. Oh, hello, G.
Hello, G.
Rock on, man. I should wear.
Yeah. Oh, here's my glasses. There we go. I got them. All right, carry on.
What? Now who is this? Who I'm talking to now?
Yeah. It's me still.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Did you put it on, did you do auction or did you do a buy it now?
No, I put auction.
You did, Kate?
I put an auction and I put on, I put auction and best offer just to see what people thinking is worth it.
Yep.
Of course, I got the first offer is like, nah, man, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not just gonna give it to you just because.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, now it's been going quietly because it's usually you have a hype on a lot of people looking at it, and then just dies down. I have I have a couple of bids on, and there's lots of people watching it, which is interesting because I looked on an eBay on UK. It's only my book and another offer, and then that offer was £185. Like, what the fuck, man?
Wow.
Who's gonna buy a deluxe edition?
Wow.
I guess if you're rich enough,
somebody will.
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm saying. Mine is on actual auction, and then somebody else is offering a book to buy it now for £185.
Yeah.
So it's a bit crazy, as I say.
You'll see all the action right at the last couple of seconds because they usually watch it just to try to snipe it and try to get the best price, right? So I'm sure in the last 5 minutes you're going to see that start to, and I'd be curious to see, if you're comfortable sharing after it's over. I'd be curious how you did on it. So yeah.
No, look, it's fine. I mean, at the moment I have a £49 bid on it.
Yeah.
And then see how far we're gonna go. Look, I said to my husband, every single time when it comes to sales, my husband, so how much is it? How are you gonna get it?
Yeah.
Chill. I'm not expecting 100,000.
He's seeing dollar signs. That's hilarious. Yeah.
No, but it gets excited because he knows it's for me. Whatever I can do, I can spend money for whatever I want to, and that's the thing. The purpose of selling that book is to buy more comic books for myself.
Absolutely.
So, whatever I kind of feel like buying, I can buy, or whatever else I wanted to do with that kind of things. And that's the thing. It's been lying there. That comic book is lovely looking at, but I don't feel like I have to buy a second one. You know what I mean? I can always read it. I can always read it now because I do read digitally sometimes. I just can invest it on sale, and usually that's what I do. Like if it's sale, I never will. To be honest, I will never ever spend a full price on digital comic book. There's no fucking way for me. I need kind of value to it, and I don't see it valued on digital. I still have to use the platform, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I already spent that enough money for that. But if it's physical, you're supposed to full price, but digital, no. What the fuck? I mean, I know you make a job and you're doing your living for doing that, but not at the same price as actual printed edition. Ooh, enjoy
it. Okay, G. Yeah.
So, and also I found a couple of amazing Spider-Man comic books that I had. I bought them when I found them on sale. and I just kept them there because it's like nostalgic, to be honest, because it looks very similar to the animation things. I was like thinking, but okay, I just, I'm not gonna buy more Amazing Spider-Man comic books, so I'm gonna put for sale. And so single, like couple, I will put like 4 listings, like so I already sold one. I got an offer.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fine. This perfect offer. Like it gave me like £5 for one comic book. So I go, fine.
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's not like a first edition or something and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it looks, I put the pictures. I made sure I tell them how I feel about the grade, and I got an offer, and it was like similar to what I was basically thinking about. So I got it and sold it. I already sent it through, so I don't have to think about it anymore. So I have a couple.
Well, and I mean that's the way to do it, right? Like starting off, because I mean the biggest thing, like if this turns into something for you where you're going to do it for a while, the biggest thing at the beginning is just like you're already talking about, make sure that you're doing good photos or scans depending on what works easier for you, so you can build up that reputation, so you can start building up that feedback where if you get 100% feedback and all of a sudden you have a nice history of like 6 months of selling comics or whatever, even if they're just nothing big, like a couple of dollar books or whatever, like at least you have that history. It's a good idea. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I have a history already. I sold comic books on eBay already.
I see.
So
Okay.
I've done that, but it was, I don't know, I never do it consistently because I don't tend to sell a lot of things myself. I always usually use eBay offers sometimes for you for like they're gonna charge you £1 for listing, like after full price. They don't charge you that 10% they usually get. So I usually use those kind of options because I know that people will be more traffic to look at because people are selling it. So you always most of the time looking for stuff as well. But like all the comic books these days, especially like the 35 cents, 25 cents, they're quite pricey these days. So just for like single comic book, before I used to be able to get it. Good afternoon to you.
Oh, good comic board. How are you? Nice to see you.
So yeah, I have a couple of those Spider-Mans I'm waiting. They every single item I have is on bid, so I'm gonna sell them all, which is actually that's what my goal is, to actually do that. And so I'm gonna free some space and see how I feel about it, if I can still continue find something, because I didn't look through the boxes what I want to sell sometimes, and I overthink and start selling something I don't really want to sell. Like just because I get that excitement of making a buck, I decided, I need to sell this, and then it's like, fuck, why did I sell that shit? So I'll show you one of the comic book I'm selling. That's the one. It's
you froze there. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Spidey.
So yeah, and you have Goblin on it, and it's actually when it goes for like at least £20 on eBay, but
wow.
I'm not expecting to get that as well. I'm just, as I say, I'm looking for, because his Hobgoblin is quite popular character. It's especially on the cover, and what this comic has, it has those Mark Jewelers insert.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
And it's a rare edition apparently. It's because it used to belong to the army soldiers and stuff like that.
That's right.
So look, I put it in. I put pictures. I took pictures. I wrote everything, whatever I felt is supposed to be written. So if people want to take advantage of getting that, if I'm gonna sell it and I'm gonna get something from it, my idea is I've been still like looking for some Daredevil and Doctor Strange comic books. I need to fill up the gaps. So let's see if I can find something myself. But I'm struggling. I'm kind of very picky when I buy a comic. When I sell, it's like, okay, I'm gonna just sell it. But when I buy, I need to look at every single corner and everything kind of thing. But we'll see.
I mean, that's not a bad thing though, right? Like, because you never know. That's why as soon as I mean, ETA Nick says the same thing. But every time I look at books on eBay, if they have a blurry photo or if there's not enough photos, I don't even bother wasting my time. Even if it is a really good price, it's like I could be getting an absolute piece of shit that I'll be really unhappy with. So it's not a bad thing. So, and you answered my next question, which was going to be, are you like me? And have you already spent the money mentally that you're about to make on this stuff? But it sounds like you have a couple things in mind already, which is cool.
Well, I do have, but you see, when it comes to the point of actually spending the money, is usually I like, oh, maybe I'll do something else and blah blah blah. I tend to use that the same money if I spend comic books. I usually spend for the new comic books, so I
Okay.
don't have to, like the pull list whatever I have.
Yep.
I can always put through. But another thing which keeps my mind always open is that Usagi Yojimbo's second edition hardcover of collected
Okay.
limited edition hardcover coming out soon in March. So
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe I should just put that money aside and actually get
Yeah.
that, because as I told you that last week, I really enjoy Usagi Yojimbo. It's proper enjoyment for me. I'm getting excited every single time I read it. It seems to be just the right Ronin type of kind of character, like Japanese influence on that stuff, and it just like makes me feel to read that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's cool.
look, fingers crossed. I mean, as I say, tomorrow will end everything. Whatever I'm gonna get, I'm already happy. It's like, I mean, I didn't have any money, and now I will have some money. You know what I mean?
That's
It's just like, and it's as I say, I keep on saying to myself, but if comic books can buy me comic books, I will be more than happy to do that.
Exactly, man. And that's exactly the way my mindset has been for the last couple of years. Like, if I can sell stuff and then get stuff out of the collection that I'm not as crazy about anymore and buy some good books, like, I'm doing it. I was watching ETA Nick just had a video the other day, yesterday, maybe the day before, and he was talking about selling modern comics. And I think I might follow the advice that he gave in that video. He's like, because he was showing some auctions finished that were finished, and it was all bid. Everybody had bid on. They did a bidding, and they weren't getting enough money. They weren't getting very much money. It wasn't even coming close to even covering the cost of getting the comic graded. So he's like, honestly, my best advice for people that are selling modern books, just do a buy it now, and then just be patient. Like, pick a reasonable price and just do your research, obviously, but do that and just be patient. Because it's like that's going to be your best option. Because otherwise, I mean, that's the thing that concerns me about getting these books back graded when they do come back in a couple of months, and then eventually putting them up. I want to make sure that, like, I got to make the money back that I put into it at least. Obviously, I want to make more, but I think I might go for a buy it now option and see how that works. Because I mean, my eBay account has been pretty inactive for probably, I don't know, at least 2 years. I think I might have had 1 or 2 things that I've sold in those 2 years, but it's really been quiet. I just haven't put my focus into eBay for quite a while. Yeah, and the fees are big, right? Like, the fees are big.
And Mike, in UK, as I say, where I'm doing that selling thing as well, that's why, because of thinking, I don't know how much I'm going to get for that deluxe edition, and the fees would be 10%, yes? But they give you in UK. I don't know how it is in Canada, because I don't know. But in UK, you get a month. You get 1,000 free listings, so you list for free.
1,000 free listings?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and let me show you if I am.
Because I've gotten some free listings in the past. It's been like a little promo kind of thing. I don't remember there being a number attached to it, but I know for sure it wasn't 1,000. That's pretty amazing. That's a really good deal.
Yeah. So if you can see, there, the top 999 listing remain for free from 1st of January to end of February.
Okay, that even looks completely different from my eBay app too. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I get the first thing in UK.
That's a great deal.
And then you get fees after, but then they always offer in UK one. I'm just talking about UK now because I really don't know what's happening. In America, you can get eBay bucks, which is fantastic. You don't get that in UK. But then you get, they give you, sometimes it comes an offer and they give you 100 listings and free of fees, like £1 fees usually. Yes. So you list one and you only charge you for £1 for each, whatever you sell. So, which is perfect, like then if you sell something, but I guess you also have the brackets of saying if something like greater value than $1,000, I presume they won't give you £1 fee. They will take it away more from you.
I imagine there's a cutoff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it still reduces the amount of fees you have to pay to eBay as well.
Shit, yeah.
So that's what kind of thing I take advantage of, and while I'm trying to sell that. I know it's when you're actually selling key I don't think you should look at fee stuff, because at the end of the day, it's key. So you're gonna have more attention from people anyway, because that's what attracts people these days when it comes to comic book selling. And then I think it's the bidding. When I put the biddings, it's always, you never know what you're gonna get. You never. But that's the thing. If you do brave enough of going for the bids, don't be over expectant. Like like that deluxe edition. I'm not expecting to get that £185 for sure, not. But if I'm gonna reach above what I've spent for it and a bit more, then I will be happy, because I already made money towards. Because we can be greedy, to be honest. It's very easy to get overly excited. You know what I mean? Oh my god! What happens if I'm gonna get that £185? What am I gonna do with it? Oh my god! Like that kind of stuff. If you're gonna start thinking that, you're gonna get disappointed straight away.
Yeah.
Because you know what? It never happens the way you want it to happen most of the time. You have to be very lucky. When is it coming out? What time is it going to finish the bidding? How much people are going to see this? If it's rare enough, but if you just, your typical, like this comic books come back, like say it comes out, nobody's probably going to bid on it, to be honest. Or if they bid, you're going to bid as minimal as possible, because they don't want to pay full price for the stuff, especially new comic books,
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's part of the gamble for the stuff that I have coming in. I mean, the one of the books that I have coming in, that Thor book, because then the other side of it is, because of these movies, how many other people am I going to be competing with at that same time? Because I highly doubt I'm going to be the only one all of a sudden having an auction for that Thor book, right? There's going to be hundreds of them, or however many. I don't even know what number there's going to be. I haven't followed it enough to know what the kind of onslaught is when these trailers come out and then you see eBay sales go. I don't know, but I imagine it's all of that stuff. Yeah, and that's the hardest part for me, because I do see this like, oh, great. And, at the end of the day, it's a gamble. I realize that I'm gambling. I'm absolutely gambling. I might not make jack shit off of these. I might make an extra $5, or I might break even. Like, what the hell do I know, right? But I mean, that is the hard part for me, because I see these things. It's like, oh, right on. Yeah, I'm going to get that. And then in my head, it's starting to tick, like tick, tick, and then this, and then that, and hey, maybe I can look into that, and So it's dangerous for sure, which is exactly why I don't. Well, that's not exactly why. There's many reasons why I don't do this kind of stuff anyway, but that's one of the reasons I don't. It's just, it's too much of a gamble at the end of the day. It's way too much of a gamble.
I think it really works, and I've noticed that from videos watching of people who likes to do that kind of stuff in full time. I think it works. Then you have a group of people, you know who you're talking to, you have a community kind of thing. It really works now. And on Instagram, you have comic book followers, and like who shows comic books out on Instagram as well. And those people are having those auctions and stuff like that. That's kind of stuff. And then you have the more people know, of course, the more attention you're gonna get through. And if they know you as well as a seller, that's even helpful more.
Exactly.
So then you become like, you have the, like you say, you have reputation and then stuff. So you start having more audience. That means more people are gonna come, probably even think about it if you want to buy or not, and that helps. And I think all those like people like Comic Tom 101, I think he's the one who likes to speculate a lot on comic book markets. Even E.T.A. Nick, at the end of the day, he is a speculator, even by making his own videos, because, but then he is like even teaching you how to what and which and what not. And mainly, if you follow those kind of like YouTube channels, you also gonna find out about a lot of things you don't have a clue about, kind of thing. But it becomes it's always the same. They look at information or whatever new comes out. Now Marvel had a meeting, and what Kevin Feige said this one on Twitter, what he's gonna do this way, how many times he pooped a day, and this comic book I need to sell right away because he pooped 3 times. He told us we have to do it now. You know what I mean? It's not good. And it's
a full-time job too. Like, it's a full-time gig. Looking into that shit, like, you've got to follow these news sources every single day, and you've got to be invested in it if you actually want to turn a buck at it.
Yeah, and then you have the people, like I keep on mentioning the same names, that like Comic Tom 101. He is the one who's made this great deal. I think they're doing this service for people. They basically sell their own, like he has comic book shop with his dad, and they make this monthly package of comic books you can buy.
Oh, okay.
and then he puts them, but he puts with key issues, so you can get the first appearance of like Thanos, or you can get the first appearance of Spider-Man, not Spider-Man, of course, but you know what I mean, those kind of, but they put randomly, so you have a subscription, and he has like about what, let's say he has 200 people, and if between those 200 people, 2 of them going to be lucky enough to get, like, some of them. He even put giant sized X-Men #1 in there once, I remember. So imagine, I mean, but he gets subscription, people are paying for him. So monthly,
that's a smart move, yeah.
Yeah, but for comic books, at the end of the day, he shows the like a special covers. Of course, he's gonna put there, and then now, but that's how you establish yourself, who you are, and how you can deal with comic books. And if you have that kind of a mindset and headspace to create this kind of thing, and people are completely aware of it, and get, imagine you pay something, you like your comic books, you get something exciting, and suddenly you open up and there's this a key issue there, but randomly, because you just paid for, like, let's say, I don't know how much it charges, but let's say £40, and then like, fuck, £40 got me this. It's a luck of a draw, but it's exciting. It's even more exciting for people who's getting it, like, oh my god. Of course, you're gonna get very disappointed if you're not gonna get that key issue. But you're gonna continue, if you continue subscribing for that. Here you go. You get your passion is feeding you, kind of thing of stuff. But he's making money and he's creating that stuff.
Hello, Paulo.
Jesus, I was thinking, what is?
So jumping off of that, going into I don't know. I don't know what the link is. I'm sure there's a link somewhere. Oh yeah, speculating television shows, movies. Hey, WandaVision. Yes. WandaVision, 2 episodes. You watched it?
Yes. So first of all, my first feel was like my jaw dropped. Huh? What is this?
Yeah.
Like it's exactly what it is.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. Yeah. So yeah, my husband's jaw dropped even further down. It's like, what the hell is this? I don't. It's like, I don't. You have to explain to me. It's like, I don't know. I'm just watching it with you the first time. Yeah. I can't explain. I don't understand either. Because
that's hilarious. That sounds like a lot of the conversations that happen here. What the hell's going on? I don't know. Let's watch it together and we'll find out.
Exactly.
It's a story. They'll tell us eventually.
The one thing I got giddy about is because the way they introduced the characters and how they went about, because I'm a huge fan of the Bewitched TV series.
Yes, yeah.
I grew up with that, and seeing that straight away is like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then everything, the cartoon, the way the family, and the whole dynamic of that beginning of the TV show is basically what you see in Bewitched. Almost nothing different. Just Vision is a robotic entity anyway. But and in saying that, it felt I had quite a few questions in my head because I wasn't. Because, you have kind of expectations if you are following MCU Marvel movies through the section of all of them. What happens to them at the end of the Avengers Endgame or whatever that movie, the last series of the whole series, shebang. Yeah. You start questioning. So what, are they alive? What's going on here? Where we gonna? Because it doesn't explain to you, and I think that's a good trick to do. I think Absolutely. It makes you question a lot of things, but it makes it like it can't give you everything on your platter. Like, I'll serve you steak. This is cream cheese, but like all that kind of bullshit. But it gives you things. Your head start to think about whatever is going on. So you start to speculate in your own head, while you're still watching it. So I know it's gonna go bad. It looks, like it looks too good to be true, and all that. Yeah. And the most part, which I really enjoyed on the first episode was like, what the fuck is going on? I was confused. I didn't know what the hell is going on. Happy-go-lucky. They married suddenly. But then when they sit down having a dinner with that boss of his, and things are starting to happen, and Vision's freaking out.
Yeah.
Hello, Nima. And then he's freaking out, and then those things happens, like the noises, and then and then go, oh fuck, it's gonna be bad. This is gonna be bad.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like just before the bad things happen in the horror movie. This is kind of like
Yep.
the sense of that, and it's like, oh,
Yep.
I'm not gonna be able to watch this, or I'm gonna have to do this like I always do
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
horror
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
But I had a good feeling. I mean, I guess what I'm thinking, it's nice that they have given you train of thought, but they didn't really, in my mind, because probably I don't know much of Wanda and Vision in general as a characters.
Yeah.
But there's lots of apparently snippets or clues, what's gonna happen and what's gonna be in the future episodes. I didn't get that
No.
much. I mean, I know there's that sign which was coming in, and then the computer screen with the hands typing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a clue, I for sure. So we first thing we thought, I don't know how you did think, they are in artificial dimension somewhere, or she is, and then they're inserting the messages into her head, and then focusing, basically playing around with her head. That's my
Mhm.
train of thought for now, but I'm not sure. So what did you think?
Yeah. I mean, we absolutely loved it. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, let's just get that out of the way. I thought it
Yeah.
was incredible. Uh, there was when all those trailers dropped. There was this.
Uh-huh.
There was the Loki trailer, and then to a lesser extent, the What If trailer. Those were the three trailers that stood out to me. Obviously, movies aside, obviously, like the announcement of Doctor Strange, all that I'm super excited
Yeah.
about. But for the kind of trailers they showed, those are the three that really caught my interest.
Mm-hmm.
And this WandaVision a little more so than other ones, like Loki being a very, very close second. And I mean, as far as like what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. It feels like they're trapped somewhere and they're just monitoring her kind of subconscious or whatever. My hope, and again,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't based on anything. My hope is because of what they've done with the movies, they've opened up these parallel universe kind of alternate dimensions where Doctor Strange was going in and looking for the timelines. That I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping that that's thrown something out of whack, and we can
Mm-hmm.
start playing more with that. Because my hope is that we'll see that over the next TV shows and movies. This kind of my favorite DC thing, Elseworlds. We're going to see
Mm-hmm.
this kind of what if or Elseworlds type of thing happen where we're going to be dealing with alternate dimensions, so we don't have to worry about telling the story that's kind of by the Bible or whatever. That there'll be more experimentation going. But I mean,
Yeah.
as far as like recreating those old shows, it was
Mm-hmm.
top notch. Like it was so entertaining. Even like the
Mm-hmm.
laugh track and
Yeah.
like you said, that animated opening for the second episode, I thought was great. Chris Chaos and Comics had said on Twitter that
Mm-hmm.
there was a couple of moments that to him were very kind of David Lynch, and they definitely
Yeah.
were. So, like when the guy starts choking at dinner time, that was an absolute David Lynch. Like they were just frozen. It almost felt like a dream. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a very intriguing show. I mean, what's going to happen? I don't know. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole bunch of ideas, but we're there, like we're hooked. And then the other
Mm.
thing that we started thinking about yesterday, I'm glad that it's only about a half-hour episodes. I think that's great as
Yes.
well, approximately a half hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that again, they're just smart. They know how to bring these things out. So it's like we're in
Yeah.
a pandemic. People can't go to movie theaters. Obviously, they've had this plan. They didn't just make it up at the spur of the moment. But I think it's an incredible idea to get this stuff on TV and produce it this way and get you back into that Marvel universe where then you're
Mm-hmm.
going to get the payoff of seeing the movies where all of these TV shows are going to
Yeah.
pay off, right? And
Yeah.
it's just very, very smart. They're very smart. They know they've got a formula. They're sticking
Mm-hmm.
to it,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is incredible. And that's something you don't often see in these kind of situations. It feels to me like there's too many people that have their hands in.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of takes away from a vision of what the series or the kind of franchise is going to be. Whereas this one, it feels like it's tightly controlled by a few people. And then if you
Mm-hmm.
come onto a project as a director, or a DP, or whatever sort of creative, you have to work within this framework. We know you have ideas and we love your ideas, but your ideas are no good here. This
Yeah.
is what we want to do, and this is our plan for it. And I
Mm-hmm.
commend them for that, because that shit is hard to do. That is really
Mm-hmm.
difficult to do at the best of times, especially
Mm-hmm.
in movies and TV, where you're dealing with a huge amount of people, you're dealing with a huge amount of money, you're dealing with a huge amount of like creative talent that just want to give something and put something in with their own ideas, right? It's
Yeah.
difficult, but
Well,
we loved it.
the thing is, what interesting, what was like the same thing I was talking about, speculating and everything. they were quoting the time of what inspiration took them upon to do this kind of TV show, and apparently Tom King's vision was the main inspiration upon, because of what it felt good to read that comic book was that it had a spin of being a very kind of good, happy-go-lucky, trying to attach to something, like unconventional, towards being in suburbia and the robotic family lives just there next door to you. But then they had the spin of horror elements with no matter how good you think you can try to attach yourself to something where you don't belong, things gonna go wrong anyway, because the pressure of being the same, like what we are actually sometimes as a human trying to achieve as well. So, and that horror elements were played really well, especially in the second episode, especially when Wanda starts seeing the color, which was spectacular. Way and well thought out when to do that, and how she spots it, and how she goes into it to see it and picks up and freaks out because somebody comes to talk to her. And in that sense, it gives you like, oh, okay, this is intriguing. What's going to happen next? And it doesn't give you afterwards anything else, just the sound again. So, and then the reveal afterwards, what happens, the color and stuff like that, which is perfect. I think it's just exactly how it's supposed to be. And I think a lot of people will probably get annoyed by not getting enough information, because as we know, we live in a time when everything needs to be fed quickly for us, and we can't think anymore, because we need just to see it, absorb it, and then say, oh, we liked it, but I don't want to think about it because it hurts my head. Why I have to use my brain and stuff like that. But I hope, in my mind, I think they will. I don't know. In my mind, when after watching it, I'm still thinking that they are using, because after the Avengers game, the movies, all the franchise finishing in, she died. She vaporized, so she shouldn't be in existence. Vision shouldn't be in existence either. Right. So if they would want to attach them to the movie franchise again, how will they do that? And it has to be a smart way to do it. Your version of Elseworld works even better. It's much easier to achieve. Yeah. You can play around saying, like, by vaporizing themselves, they went into that kind of like, like they were transferred from one computer to another one, kind of that thing. Yep. And that's their existence from now on. But will be, that moment when from the manhole, that thing appeared? Yeah. That's freaky.
Yeah, it was a little freaky.
I was just thinking, like, you go out from your house, like just hearing something, especially nighttime, and you see somebody come popping up from there. I would fucking freak out. I mean, who wouldn't be? You know what I mean?
So the only thing that I would say about it, it's always a mistake that people make when they're making these things, is showing it. I think it would have been way more terrifying to see that manhole cover slide out and maybe see like a hand come out or something, and then something gets their attention away, or they go back in the house or whatever. Something like, I always think that there's a mistake in showing exactly what comes out of there. I think that you lose that impact, because I mean, I'm sure the beekeeper will have some significance. I'm sure it's going to come to pass that, if we haven't said it already, obviously there's spoilers galore at this point, but whatever. There's like 15 people watching at the best of times. So, I mean, I'm sure that it's going to come to pass at some point what that is supposed to mean. And again, maybe to some people who are really good with like the lore of Wanda and Vision, will pick up on these things. I can't make heads or tails of it. It's meaningless to me, right? So,
but in a way, I like to be a bit more clueless on what's going to happen, or what will be happen, because I remember many times, especially like to say the biggest one was with the Preacher. I've read the whole series, and I can't watch it anymore, the TV show, because it didn't have the same feel to it. It just, in my own head, it didn't feel the way the comic was going through. They were putting way too many their own ideas, which didn't kind of gel with the same story of what they were trying to tell. And I was like, no, I can't watch it. So knowing that kind of feel, being a little more clueless about the characters, it actually quite helps, because you don't know what's going to happen. It will be more surprising towards us. But don't forget, another thing which is annoying is that people spoil a lot of shit. Like they'll tell you all the clues in the world. If you watch this, check this out. This is how many clues they left us. This is what you can think. And that's the speculative market, which opens up even like another wormhole kind of thing. Because there's so many things. Oh, this is the character going to appear because of this and whatever color they saw, and that stuff like that. So I mean, in general, as a TV show itself, it's really intriguing, and I hopefully they'll continue with that vibe of creepiness towards it.
Yeah,
But I think they would have to give you some sort of idea what's happening, because if you continue having no clue for another 2 more episodes, I don't know, like sometimes you get like even after that you can
yeah.
get like a bit bored. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think I don't know how many episodes there's going to be, but it feels like it's going to be more like a 6 or 8 episode type of thing. It doesn't feel like, because the pacing so far is
Yeah,
pretty fast. Because I mean,
yeah,
they easily could have just had 4 episodes where they just do these homages and references just to TV shows, these
yeah.
old TV shows, and have nothing,
Mhm,
any sort of like clues or subtext or anything. They could have easily ridden that out for 4 episodes, 9 episodes. There you go. Thank you, Comic Board.
mhm,
So I mean, that gives me some hope that the pacing is going to be faster. And
mhm.
if they keep with this half hour, I think, again, I love the half hour. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's, my son was saying afterwards, he said that he's at this point so far 2 episodes and he's like, I think this is my favorite thing that Marvel has done so far. He's putting it right up there for him. Like, we were engrossed. All of us were just engrossed in this story of like, wow,
Mhm,
because of
mhm,
all those questions. What is this? Who is that?
mhm,
What's going on here? What's that? It's just so
mhm.
great. Really, really well done. Very smart.
Yeah. So let's hope. I mean, as I say, it seems to be with Mandalorian, they did really good job and made me more
Yeah,
interested in Star Wars lore and stuff like that kind of thing.
yeah,
I never had that, honestly, after watching even the movies. I mean, I was excited in the period of time when they were coming out, when they go cinema and watch it, but the newer stuff wasn't as intriguing. I mean, there was good movie for one to watch and
mhm,
repeat. I don't think I ever would. I mean, there's a couple of them I could repeat again to watch it. But the Mandalorian is fantastic. I like the way it went. It didn't have
yeah,
over complications towards it. I didn't expect anything overly complicated as well. It just had that excitement. It had that child, which was very appealing to for me as well.
yeah,
Like the way everything and non-communicating child with a like kind of thing that just even felt even more unique towards that kind of stuff. So yeah,
yeah,
so if we, it seems to be Disney as a beast it knows exactly what they want to do,
yeah,
and
man.
having that Kevin Feige in charge, it's working for them,
Absolutely.
and
Shit, yeah.
he's becoming a kingpin of Marvel. To be honest, he's in
Well, and I
charge of
mean,
everything.
the hardest thing is finding that balance, right? Like,
Yeah.
Mandalorian, I loved it. I'm not a huge Star Wars head
Mm.
by any stretch. I've seen most of the movies. I haven't seen them all. Obviously, I
Mhm.
love the original ones when they came out and stuff, like all of that. But I'm not a
Mhm.
hardcore. I know every single character, every single nook and
Yeah.
cranny. That's a
Mhm.
tough balance. So you
Mhm.
create this Mandalorian. It's got to appeal to people who are Star Wars heads. Then it's got to
Yes.
also appeal to people that don't know anything about Star Wars. Then it's also got to have enough nuggets in it for people to grasp onto who maybe have a little bit of knowledge like me. Like
Yeah.
finding that balance is fucking difficult. And I mean, from
Yeah.
what I've been hearing from people, it feels like across the board,
Mhm.
everybody seems to love Mandalorian, the hardcore to the
Mhm.
newbies, you know what I mean? And then doing those elements like, who doesn't like a cute little ass character? I mean, Miyazaki even knows that with his animated movies. There's
Yeah.
always some cute little character, right? Like that's gonna work. There's some
Mhm.
there's some formulas that are just going to work, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's the
I
thing.
think they're all very smart.
Yeah, it seems to be Kevin Feige has a really good team around surrounding him as well. I
Yeah,
mean, everybody believes in that shit. It seems to be,
yeah.
no matter who you
Well, because
see.
it's made him a boatload of goddamn money so far, right?
Yeah, but then the thing is, the boatload money came out because it seems to be he had a vision and everybody believed in that vision.
Yeah,
That's one thing you say you have a vision and then nobody believes in that. And
yeah.
it's going continues. But seems to be he's very in control
Well,
of
and that's
everything
the thing
that's
that
coming out.
surprises me the most is that
Yeah.
he had a vision, they
Mm-hmm.
followed it, and then they're
Yeah.
still following it. Because
Yeah.
oftentimes what you see happen is it gets
Yeah.
taken away from somebody, or someone else steps in and goes, no, 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 we're going to take it from here. We know what to do, da da da,
Yeah.
and then they
Mm-hmm.
take it and just fuck it up. Like the fact that he's still there
Mm-hmm.
producing this content, still there in control of stuff. That's
Yeah.
really, really impressive as well. Like that says something about him as someone in that business, because that business is
Mm-hmm.
fucking difficult, right? You get shit taken
Yeah.
away from you at the drop of a hat for one little sideways glance, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
as I say, it seems to be that, or maybe he's able to excite people, who is whoever he's employing and whoever, like all those stars. Look, if we continue now, you have a rumor of Chris Evans coming back as a Captain America.
Oh yeah.
It's like, why the hell? He wanted to go, apparently. He was already tired to being, but I guess 1 year break of not having to be Captain America anymore, it seems to be is craving it back. All that attention, like, yeah, and the money, of course, especially when you are
It's totally the money,
facing,
man.
yeah, facing this COVID situations and stuff like that. I think it's opening a lot of people's eyes, no matter
Yeah.
who you are and where you're from. So, but as I say,
Like
for us as a
there's not
content,
much artistic merit. There's not much, these actors who play this kind of game where they're in mainstream and they're going to go away to be a real actor.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. You're there for the money. We're fine that you're there for the money, though. It's fine. Everybody's got to make a living. Don't worry about it. Get in there. Make a good deal. Get yourself some cash. I totally understand it. I applaud it. Come back to those movies. Like, I can understand not want to be pigeonholed as one character for the rest of your career. I totally get it. There's this creative output that you want to have. I absolutely get it. But don't feel bad about coming back because you want that money. Because, dude, there's a boatload of cash in there for these actors at this point, especially. Hopefully everybody is being taken care of at this point.
Yeah, but they have to work the ass off. I mean, imagine to be on that street. The way he looks, the physique and everything. I mean, the guy has to keep up with the diet. I mean, I don't think he can just go. Oh, I'm gonna go have McDonald's for now. Like I feel like cheeseburger. I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, you have to commit.
Goddamn Slurpees and Blizzards. That's for damn sure.
So imagine this. It's commitment as well. I mean, it's full on. Going to the gym, and apparently they have like the team and a half, if we can even, like, that there's new Eternals movie came out and all that bullshit, and then you have the one of the actors who's basically was quite chubby in Hollywood standards. Okay, I'm not saying it looked normal. Okay, he looked normal. Now he looks like a superhero. Like, how the fuck, what do you do to them? Kind of thing. But I think they have to work the ass off just to do that.
Oh shit, yeah.
And now, because the bar is set quite high because of people's expectations and excitement,
it's not even the bar set high because of expectations. It's superheroes. They gotta be more human than any sort of human. You know what I mean? Like, that's the expectation is the comic books. Captain America the Hulk didn't look like this. The Hulk this and that. You know what I mean? Like, they have to look that way because the goddamn comic books, right? So we're now breeding these humans to look like something that's, for the most part, unattainable, not realistic whatsoever, which I always find comical.
And then I'm talking about comics, I thought I'll dive in something like this.
Oh, you did, yeah.
So no, I haven't read the story. I have the whole 8-issue limited series apparently in my, while I was looking to sell something, basically. I found this, I have. So, hilarious. And I realized I haven't read them. So
I did the same thing. I found them for us, and they're going to be for sale because I haven't read them either. I think we're missing one issue.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I mean, I probably can sell it, but I haven't read it yet, so I have to finish it before I even commit to going to put that or somewhere on this. But so I read this issue and issue number 2, which I love the covers, by the way.
Yeah, they're really nice.
But I don't know who the cover artist is. It has a signature, but I don't recognize it.
Okay.
But really nicely painted cover looking, and especially this cover looks great. So I know I like from the movies more than from comic books. Because I haven't followed Marvel like religiously for a while, so I wasn't aware of this, and I wasn't reading Marvel comic books 2007. It's released apparently. So I mean, I was reading comic books, but I wasn't picking them up, basically. And I enjoyed from the movie about the scrolls and how they come out and become like whoever you can be, like me, second me standing next to me, and like all that stuff, and take over the powers. But the one thing intriguing is that in the story it begins where Iron Man finds this scroll, which is Elektra, by the way. And how the hell I didn't know that they were scrolls, because apparently you were able to detect them, but in this story in here you can't. We can't detect them. I don't know the difference between a real one and not the real one.
Okay.
And you have a space agency. Apparently, Shield had a space tower as well, like Justice League of America has in DC universe anyway. And in here they have the agents of Shield working, and Dugan is part of the team, and they just monitoring this the space, and then they dissecting this scroll to find out how the hell we can't detect him. Nice body, by the way. Look at this beautiful body lying there. Really good art, to be honest. I wasn't shocked of like like typical Marvel way, as much as they don't believe that it is true, but in that time it feels like a typical Marvel art comic book you'll see inside. And then you have, and apparently, so Iron Man's finding it, found that scroll, wants to know how they can detect him, is like he's looking for it. And then you have the team of Luke Cage and Avengers, who apparently they are in hiding, but I don't know why, because I haven't read anything prior to that. And there's a story. This story apparently connected, at least I'll tell you just now. It connected Deathmatch. So New Avengers, then House of M, then Annihilation, then Civil War, then Illuminati, then New Avengers, then Secret Invasion. So it's like, bloody hell, are you crazy? But that's Marvel way of dealing with, I guess, an event. This is an event story.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the main book. So basically, they see this ship going towards, basically falling towards Earth, and they want to inspect who it is. And they find out that that's actually the Skrull ship, and they weren't gonna. It landed surprisingly into a savage land, like conveniently. Space, flying exactly to the savage land. Nowhere, no New York, not Chicago, no savage land. We're aiming savage land because nobody's gonna see us. Savage land. So we crash landed in savage land, and Luke Cage basically decides to go in and investigate, but they're not allowed to because they're not talking to Iron Man apparently in this comic book as well. So a little bit confused for the person who hasn't read prior story to that, because apparently there's quite a big context towards this. So, but in generally, it's like typical Marvel excitement. Skrulls are taking over. Mr. Fantastic trying to find out. He's a scientist. He's the clever one. He's trying to find out who it is, and then because he found out something which we're not aware of, he gets a gun to his head. Point, and we find out that pointed head who shot him, which you have spoiler alert, gets shot, and the person who shot it was a Skrull, and that's how the first issue ends, which is great. I mean, it's already, you have first death, you have a lot of action happening, so it's intriguing, but a bit confusing still, because as I say, I haven't read something before that. So as a trade or a hardback or whatever it's been collected into, I guess you definitely should read something before you start reading it. But as I'm nothing aware, I'm continuing the story, and I really like this cover because of the Vision and the Vision's costume.
I love that cover.
Yeah, that cover is great. And Spider-Man. So basically, second issue, we get to be in Savage Land, and we found out that crash landing, they were thinking Skrulls are landing again to the Earth, and gonna start doing the takeover. But to their surprise, old age Avenger or every Marvel character is there in that ship. So they appear, and you have a typical splash page of two teams from the same universe crashing and gonna fight each other. Like
amazing.
Avengers versus X-Men had the same splash. You have how many? It's like it's a part of a history kind of thing. You're always gonna have it. And another thing, what's interesting, the people who basically landed, they're all old school looking. So not these day and age kind of like your Avengers, because they tend to change their garb and their costumes, and you basically like, who is this guy? Who's this guy? Kind of thing, if you're not aware. So, and then and you have this another page where both Luke Cages new day Luke Cage and old day Luke Cage basically in conversation and fighting stuff. Who are you? I'm the real one. No, I am the real one. But no, I am the real one. And the fight ensues. And then by fighting, we find out who is who and who is the Skrull and who isn't. And then apparently will story continue where basically they will try to convince them that some of them are real humans, like they are superheroes somehow, but they don't explain how they will be that kind of things. But in generally, all the actions and stuff is very interesting. This guy, my name is Bob Reynolds. I'm Sentry. So apparently Sentry had lots of things happening in the Marvel Universe movie section, because his appearance from being a 50p book became a 25 or 30 pound book.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's Bob Reynolds is, Sentry. I haven't read it because, as I say, I haven't collected it. But now, if you want to collect it, I guess you can't do it because it's too expensive if it's in a single format. But in generally, as a event book, is very kind of, as I say, exciting. There's lots of action happening, fighting, of course. You don't know, and this splash pages are really good, and I really enjoy it, looking at it.
They're really great, yeah.
Yeah, and they have quite a lot of them in here. And Savage Lands is always also is being very intriguing as well. And another thing, what's intriguing, so Butler Jarvis, or from Iron Man,
yep,
he's as well a Skrull, and he basically, because of like Iron Man's machines are all computerized, and inserts a virus into him, and basically Iron Man now is in kind of trouble because he doesn't know what's going on, because he's basically almost to the point of dying because of that infection. So he is in torment, and he's asking his friend Carol Danvers to investigate, and Danvers is still wearing that nice costume, which I really enjoy. Like that skinny type, almost like Electro type of the costume, but but with that like a flashlight thingy on the front. So as I say, 2 issues in, and I'm enjoying it. It's really easy to read. Like it's typical superhero type of the comic book, and the way they get, like when they kill like one of the Spider-Mans, it appears to be a Skrull now. So and so the intrigue is still going with this, and and then you have a splash page of this where all the Skrulls are there. So solid.
Hello, Shannon. How are you?
How are you doing, Shannon? So cool. Really good. Yeah, it's as I say, proper event book. And look, everybody's like, oh, New Eternals coming. Yeah, in 2008, New Eternals comic book was coming out as well, people.
Yeah.
So and I have this, which is another next one to read, but as I say, lovely cover as well. A Spider-Woman kissing Iron Man? What the hell is going on here?
Like it's crazy just seeing it on camera. Like obviously I know what they are in real life, but even just looking on camera, like they almost look like they're plastic, like the paper. You know what I mean? It's just such high gloss paper, right?
Very much so. That's like feel a bit harder. And now what Marvel comic books coming out with that toilet paper on top on the cover.
Yeah, they're really thin. Yeah.
So we have, as always, it's nice they have this explanation of the same story, like the beginning of the storyline, what happened, like to remind you and stuff like that. But it's, as I say, I'm looking forward to read what's going to happen next. It's just a spoiler for myself, but I'll read it up and continue. And then I just wanted something like superhero. As I say, I was looking what to sell, and then suddenly this came in my hands. Like, I have this. Why? And apparently, I even have Civil War, the whole run, the mini run of Civil War run. So I could read that as well after, which I'm probably planning to do so, because why not? I have reading material I can go for, like all that stuff. And then I finished Invincible.
Oh, nice. All done.
Done. Kaput. I was kind of sad, to be honest.
Yeah, really. Hey.
I'm like, oh, my drama is gonna, like a reading of that, like killing people right, left, and center is gonna be. I can't read this anymore. I honestly, from the issue 1 to issue 144, fantastic. It's really well written. It's well thought of. The art is as beautiful. The colorist came right at the end. Like there was I told you, I think, if I remember, the change of the colorist, and it was such a big change. But then the new colorist came out, and it's such a beautiful way of coloring. It's just spectacular to look at, especially in digital format. And yeah, the story finished, and I was like, "What the?" I was like reading, and I knew it's gonna. I knew it was gonna finish, and I was reading it until 3:00 in the morning, to be honest, because I was reading. I didn't realize what time was it, because the story. I was like, I have a feeling it's gonna end. I was like, "Fuck, I have to continue. I can't go sleep."
Yeah.
I went up like reading until like 3:00 in the morning because of stupid comic, which is ridiculous. And I was like really intrigued, and the ending was really good in my book.
So does it feel like it was a full story? Like it felt like this is the end, this is it, this is tied up? Like you didn't feel like, they shit the bed? Did it feel complete?
No, it felt complete. Whatever it started from, it felt, and it kind of opened to the point for some other characters, but not him himself. So yeah, exactly. It's honestly highly recommended if you can somehow find them. They have those phone book editions, which are much cheaper to collect.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them as well, because it's 144 issues. I mean, it's quite a bit of reading. But if you can hold of that kind of stuff and read it through, it's really good. It's a lot of excitement, quite a bit of drama. It's kind of sometimes felt like soap opera to me, and sometimes, because of the emotional part. But it gives you invested in the characters, and suddenly they die. There's a lot of there were some deaths, and it's funny at the end of the end of reading, you have a page of our creator. I'm blanking his name. What is his name? Fucking dead guy.
Kirkman.
Yeah, Kirkman. There you go. I completely blanked him. So Kirkman had a page of saying, "So what? Did you think I'm gonna kill them all? Ha ha ha!" Like that kind of thing. Because honestly, it felt like it. While you were reading, and none of them gonna be alive. This is it. I mean, they are fucking numbered. The days are numbered, kind of thing. And a lot of happens with his. I really enjoyed, because you have the life of the superhero character kind of thing, and they start getting family members, and it's like, oh, that's it. You have family members, you screwed. Like something happens, but then he has this daughter. Daughter is born. And she is as crazy as dad kind of thing. I'm not badass. Like she's like about 5, like 4 or 5. Something. I'm the bad. I'm gonna punch you in the face, kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
I was like, oh my god, no, you're a child. Please stop, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and it had he managed to tell all the stories. Like they even aged the daughter to the point of being like almost adult. So he give you that as a like investment of your time spent kind of thing. You invested in that long kind of thing in reading this comic book. I'll give you as much as I can to kind of round up the story. And it wasn't it didn't feel forced as well, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
And it gave them, so like I said, from the first issue, what Invincible kind of wanted to do, he kind of achieved it at the end of it. But how he came to do that kind of thing, and how much he had to go through, and what Earth had to go through just because of those superheroes, and what other people were basically involved with, and how many deaths, just how many people died. It's just like, oh my god, you killed a lot of characters. And it seems to be, I honestly felt like Invincible wouldn't survive this, because the amount of he was punched through his gut. Through like his body is like, oh Jesus, you're not gonna survive this. But apparently Invincible's weakness is his heart. So take it to what it is. I'm not gonna kind of completely spoil it, but beautiful. I was it's like, but I feel like I have achievement done, like in the past, since this lockdown, to be honest, that I managed to read the whole through the bone. Finished, done. On the shelf in my head, done. I don't have to look at it anymore for a while. And then you have this Invincible, finished, done. 144 issues, a lot of reading, to be honest. It felt quite I took my own time, but I'm glad I did the way I paced myself, because I felt like I gave enough time for myself to digest things, feel like I don't want to get bored, kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, if you breeze through the comic books, sometimes you just like forget what you read before. And then the way he was storytelling the story is, you never forget. You start reading again and you're like, oh, okay, I know exactly what's happening, where we are at. And I was thinking, like, sometimes you read the story, and especially if you take a break, you're like, huh, what happened then? I don't remember, kind of thing. This one, no. It just went right straight where you felt it was. It gave you like two kind of ways of Invincible's life would have happened if something wouldn't happen, if he wouldn't done something, and like that kind of stuff. So it give you like, it rewarded you for what you were spending time for, basically.
That's good, yeah.
And that artist who was in charge, Ryan Otley, he did such a great job. I mean, fantastic. Because of course he had some break with other artists. Apparently, colorist was part of the drawing, helping him to draw the comic book, I guess, because of the format, like keep up with the pace. But he did a really good job, because it kind of like, it wasn't the same art, but it didn't feel like it was completely different kind of thing, like still had the same idea to it. So yeah, as I say, I can't believe I did it. And I've read it through it, and I was like, really,
it's good to have something that's like a full, like you're saying, like a full story. Like it's an achievement, but it's also been enjoyable, because oftentimes with that kind of stuff, it's tough, man. A solid ending is the toughest thing to pull off, right? So that you felt satisfied reading it, that's a pretty strong achievement.
Well, the thing is, I felt satisfied reading it, and I kind of miss it now, to be honest.
Yeah. See, even better.
Yeah, it kind of like, you read something, you get to know those characters, you like the dynamic of everything, that the chaotic things, and then quiet times, the like the emotional part of it, and then but you still want to like, oh, you can continue doing that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, something has to always end, and thankfully it did end the way it did. And I think, as I say, in the comic books, it's very difficult to end nicely. Like Bone did a really good ending. I absolutely loved it. I complete satisfaction, like throughout the one issue to the whatever 50 or 60 issues there were. And this one as well, 144 issues, and then still continue with that same pace, action, and all of it. There were some times where like you felt like, oh, maybe you're repeating yourself for a bit, but then they came back to, it seems to be like, oh, no, we're doing it. No, we all good. Don't worry. Continue reading us.
Yeah, we're in book 3 now of Bone, by the way. And it's great so far. Like we're still digging it. We're reading it at a bit of a slower pace because Lillian is also reading other stuff with her mom and things. But yeah, it's great. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Ryan, hello.
Hello, Ryan. And then it's just the way the characters going with it. Like those three of them. Like how much the grumpy guy just gets like money.
Yeah.
Money. I'm just like, oh, I did this and I did that. And then it's, as I say, and the other guy who's completely chilled, he seems to be, he's smoking a little bit of a pipe. Kind of character.
Ryan is talking about two great endings for comics this week. Two that I don't know. One was Alex Graham's Dog Biscuits year-long webcomic. I think I might have seen a link to that on Twitter. And then the other was Carlos Gonzalez long-form graphic novel Gates of Plasma. Yeah, both of those I don't know, Ryan. Yeah.
No, neither. I have not
check those out.
I guess we should put that in our memory banks.
I did a small order from last time when we were talking, and Ryan was talking about but is it comic art that he had an article in or a review in the second issue. I ended up going to Domino on their website and ordered a few books. And it was great looking through their web store. Like his web store is really fantastic. There's a wide range of stuff. And it just reminded me how long it's been since, because I used to order from a lot of these really small press guys, especially back when I maybe started this channel to some degree. Maybe it was right near the beginning, and I haven't done that for a long time. So it was really great to see all of these comics and people still creating stuff like in their really small runs. So I gave a couple of things a chance. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what they were, but when they come in, obviously I'll talk about them. But Really great website. Highly recommended to check it out, Domino. One thing I read yesterday that honestly blew me away. So I've been on the hashtag, the 500 comics for the year kind of hashtag.
Oh, yeah.
I've really been digging into the indie boxes, and I read this last night, From the Darkness. It's a 4-issue miniseries.
Wow.
From Adventure Comics.
Nice.
1991, I want to say. Oh man, that is small writing. 1990. So 1990, and holy shit, was this a great? I posted some photos on the Twitter. I don't know if that's going to focus there, but anyway, yeah, it's not going to focus. Midnight, September 11th, 1990, Manitoba, Canada. So our story takes place in my province.
Wow.
And then there was another good passage later on where it says, meanwhile, in Canada, because we have some characters going to the States. But dude, no joke. Legitimately fantastic first issue. Like, it starts in the shit. You start with the werewolves attacking some people, and then the story just unfolds from there. It's creators that I'm not aware of. Pardon me. It's not really focusing today. Anyway, so we've got Ed Pulgardi and Jim Ballant are the co-creators. So Ed does the story, Jim is on art, Pat Brousseau is letters, and Chris Ulm is the editor. And it is a really phenomenal story. So you're getting this taste of, they're coming for this one main character, his brother, who used to be one of them, like a vampire. He's killed his brother and has him has his body in his cabin, and they're coming to get the body back. And so you literally just jump into the story. It's that glorious, like, 80s, 90s black and white. And honestly, by the end of it, I was, here you go, and there's the look of his brother there. And by the end of it, I was like, I was ready. I'm like, I need the other issues. The only other issue I have is issue number 3. I thought I had number 1 and 2, but and then you get to meet the kind of head vampire woman. He has to kind of report back to her that he failed on his mission. Really, like, surprisingly good, because I mean, there's always a bit of when I sit and read these kind of things, there's always a little bit of, like, not quite tongue-in-cheek isn't the right word, but you know that you're going to get something that's probably a little hokey and probably not really polished. But the writing is phenomenal. I love the artwork. I love the kind of the gritty style of it. It really feels like an old 80s horror movie where it's just kind of over the top. You get some boobs, you get some grotesqueness, you get some people getting devoured by vampires. I don't want to show too much of the last few pages because bit of a spoiler in the end there, but dude, so good. And then the only other one I have is, this is it, number 3. So there's issue number 3. And I mean, the added bonus again of it only being a 4-issue miniseries. And Shannon is talking about Adventure Comics, and they really did. I have a couple of things from them. I think pardon me, excuse me. One of the things that I've talked about before is that Jeremiah series that Dark Horse put out. I believe they had some mini-series of Jeremiah, the European series there, on Adventure Comics as well. And I think they might have had some Harry Harrison stuff, possibly, who's like a sci-fi writer. I think they've done a couple of his books on the Adventure Comics as well. But honestly, that was a really nice surprise, and kind of these ones I haven't read yet, but the next ones that I pulled out, this one is from, actually, I'll do this again. This one is from the 70s, I think 1977, Night Power Comics. I've got this, I think I've got 8 issues of this one, Maelstrom from Aircell, which, I don't know. Again, a lot of these things, when I picked them up, they were dirt cheap, and it was just too good to pass up. This one I'm really looking forward to, Night Streets. I love this. I absolutely love that cover. It's insanely good. So that's issue 1, and then issue number 2 with some anthropomorphic characters in there as well too, with another kind of badass cover. So I'm looking forward to digging to those. I think those are going to be next. But honestly, the motivation from doing this 500 comics, not challenge, but hashtag or whatever, it's really motivated, really good motivation to read. I had 4 days still of vacation time, and I ended up taking that last week as well too, just to kind of use it all. So it was really nice to just kind of sit around, and I ended up reading a hell of a lot. Some that was good and some that wasn't good. One of the things that kind of missed the mark a little bit for me is this volume of Modesty Blaze. I think it's number 1, 2, 3, 4. It's volume number 4. So I have volume number 1, which I loved. And then this one, Warlords of Phoenix. Sorry, this is Death of a Jester. Apologies. This is the one that I haven't started yet. This is the one I'm about to start. So the other one is up on the shelf. I put it on the shelf. The Warlord of Phoenix. The first, I've talked about the first Modesty Blaze before.
Yeah.
Such a good story. I feel like that next volume that I read there didn't really, I don't know, man, it kind of missed the mark. Their relationship is still really good. One of the things that guys like Gore Vidal has talked about is the relationship between Modesty and her friend Willie, and their kind of camaraderie and the way that they work together. There's still some of those elements in there for sure, but I felt that those stories were a little weak. They kind of delved into territory that there was some nice buildup, but the kind of payoff of the story was just kind of half-assed. It felt like it was just thrown together. So there wasn't that kind of depth to the story like I feel like there was with the first volume. Still an enjoyable enough read. It didn't feel like a chore to go through it, but it makes me a little hesitant. And especially in this one now, unfortunately, the first artist passed away kind of, I think, in the second story in that previous volume. So now it's another artist, Romero is the artist's name. And there's nothing wrong with his style. His style is great, but it is different. It is different than before. And the other thing that I've said about this that sticks with these books is this strip format, which I thought would be pretty difficult to read, actually is pretty easy to read. It actually flows together really nicely, which again just kind of tells about their ability to write just a good story that just kind of sticks together, where you're doing these daily strips and have to continue the story like that. But didn't Harrison do the book that the Soylent Green movie was based on? Oh, that's a good question, Shannon. I don't know the answer to that one. I'd have to look that one up. So I mean, again, it's not like his art is shit, because it's not. It looks really nice, but it's just, I like the first artist better, and I'm blanking on the name right now because it's not in front of me. But so that's been fun. And again, just like we've talked about a million times, just going through all of these boxes and finding all this stuff to read has been great. And then one that I started in yesterday, I finally got an Adventures of Blake and Mortimer volume. I did an order from my comic shop because I was waiting for, I had this on a wish list, this Funny World magazine, it's an animation and magazine. And it has the first part of an interview talking about Fritz the Cat, and talking about the movie and how it was produced and stuff. So I have the second part of the interview, number 15. So this one I had bookmarked in my wish list forever on my comic shop. It finally came up, and it rarely comes up. So I jumped on it, grabbed that and a couple of other things. I haven't finished reading that article yet, but so far it's interesting enough. But I started in on this one. It's a dense read, but it's beautiful. The art is gorgeous. Has that kind of, the Linklater style, like the Tintin style.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say straight away.
Yeah. And the coloring is beautiful on it. So this is the Comcat Comics version. I think there was also, I think Cinebook did a bunch of them. I don't know how many Comcat did, but I don't think they did the whole series. One of the things that jumped out at me is you get page after page where it's kind of these reds and blues.
Yes.
There's some more where they're underground, they're going through tunnels, and they're just kind of trying to survive to try to get out. And then you jump into this where they stumble across Atlantis in this. So you get the change in the color palette right on the next page. And I love that. So I mean, their whole surrounding has gone from this red where it's now blue, and kind of the character that they meet is dressed in the red. It's fun, man. It's a fun like adventure book.
It
It's a
looks like
dense.
Star Trek.
Yeah, it does a bit for sure.
From those old ones from Shatner's years of Star Trek, because of the feel of the colors and all that stuff, like space kind of thing. Yeah.
And then these panels up here jumped out to me as well. Again, it feels like there's these nods to guys like Charles Burns and guys like Dan Clowes who maybe would have gone influenced, because those are sort of abstract kind of panels to some degree. Like it's not that we're not clear on what we're looking at. We know what we're looking at, but I love the look of it. And the more you read it, each of the panels, there's so much to see in each of these panels. But the layout on it, I don't know how it was originally presented. And I see Paulo and G talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, guys, if like in the original, was it kind of these top 2 rows on a page and the bottom 2 rows on another page? How was it originally presented? Because it feels like they could live separately on different pages, because it feels like that's a lot of panels to cram into one page. Exactly. And at first that was the challenge reading it. As soon as I opened up the book, it was like, dude, this is going to be difficult to read. But I'm kind of halfway through it, and I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to getting some more, like, look at this work here. It's just gorgeous, man.
Yeah. Geez, beach bubbles are crazy, man.
Yeah. That's the thing. There's a lot of text. There's a lot of text. There's a lot of stuff to read. So, I mean, it's one of those where you end up skimming through some of the text, because not every single sentence is like, there's not every single sentence where you need to read every single word to understand what's going on. It's just a lot of, and then they went here, and then they went under there, and they traveled in, and then there was this water that they had to get to. And so he went under and he found the end, like you don't have to read every single thing to get the gist of what's going on. But it's beautiful though. I'm digging that. So I think that'll be something that I get. I just want to back up here to see what I missed.
Yeah.
People complain about Chris Claremont being verbose. I've never read Edgar Pierre Jacobs. Yeah. I love the care Jacobs takes with clothing and pipe smoking. That's half of the pleasure. And Blake and Mortimer. Yeah, and definitely a Basil Wolverton vibe. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, that's it's very true. Like that is some wordy shit in there. That is some wordy stuff going on there. Make Room, Make Room. Oh, okay. So the movie was loosely based on a story Harry Harrison did called Make Room, Make Room. Perfect. Some Space Hawk in there, yeah. Yeah. E.P. Jacobs didn't know who Basil Wolverton was, yeah. I don't think a lot of people knew who Basil Wolverton was early on. I think he was just one of those guys that over time has kind of got more of a name.
Yeah.
Ed Piskor certainly borrowed heavily from that. Yeah, so I mean, it's a hell of a read. I'm glad that I took a chance on it finally, because it's that mental list of books that I want to try out. I just never actually took a shot on. But I mean, my comic shop has some great prices sometimes. It's really varied. Sometimes they don't have the greatest prices, and the biggest thing, as always, it's just to ship it to me here in Canada is always a bit of a pain in the ass. But like I said, I really wanted that Funny World magazine, and I'm having problems finding it anywhere. It doesn't even come up on eBay very much, and when it does, it's really expensive. So I bit the bullet and just got it. So
yeah. I got again so after reading Invincible, I was like, okay, what I'm reading next. So I started reading that Secret Invasion because I just found it, and I thought, okay, why not? Then I kind of felt like I leave The Dead Man for now a little bit because I have it kind of thing, so I can read it a little bit. Like as I say, I'm very jumpy when it comes to reading material. And then I realized there's more Blueberry to discover, which I haven't thought of. So I typed in, like always, I always look for Blueberry. I don't know why. I have hope that I'm going to get those collected hardbacks, which is impossible to get. Nobody's selling them. And if I do try to put them on eBay, it's like 200 quid a pop, which is crazy. Anyway, and then apparently there's a story which I found I could read digitally, unfortunately, in English, but it's called OK Coral, where we're having Blueberry being quite old, and maybe the Western type in those Western type stories, 40s in Western type usually been like 60, so he's behaved like 60-year-old almost, to be honest, like weathered, like he's been already through a lot of shit, as you know what Blueberry story is. And that OK Coral story is just actually well known apparently because it's been done through quite a few movies, especially old Western movies, about Wild Earp and that famous fight between those vigilantes. Because I was like looking, I was like, like when you're reading and you read this, the name, and you're like, something I've heard this, like the time, even Star Trek episode had one where Star Trek jumped into this. So basically, Shatner's, that's a Shatner's episode in that era of Star Trek, where basically we come across this alien entity, and they rummage around in the head and suddenly decides to put them in that time of 1881 famous hour of those two shooting up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's the same kind of feel, and I was like thinking, kind of like, okay, Blueberry is in that era, and it is true because of like civil wars and everything and that. So while that kind of scene would be happening, Blueberry is in surrounding, finding, basically being he's called now a gambler, but apparently Blueberry, when he aged, like not doing anything too much crazy, just goes gamble, sits down in saloon, have a drink, and gambles, and like cards, whatever game. Yeah, kind of in a way. And of course, things happens again. There's another people involved because of the story. Yeah, it's from Mr. Blueberry Cycle. That's why he's older and set. And yeah, exactly. So, and then you have that scene of OK Coral happens, and that's why the story is called OK Coral as well. Where Blueberry discovers those snipers, who is supposed to be in 3 directions, like that's how we're gonna basically get those Wyatt brothers, to surprise them kind of thing and kill them and stuff like that. So it was really surreal reading that, because Blueberry's in there. I know kind of the story. I was even looking in Google to find out the actual, am I going crazy or it's true? And then of course it's true. It's like, it's actually all like dated correctly and everything. It's like, whoa, that's bizarre. And seeing Mobius art, it's aged art kind of. It felt like, because he's already in the line of doing so much Blueberries already, so he's like flawless again, but with a more finesse to the art, kind of less hard lines kind of thing, more like breeze through kind of art, experienced Mobius and stuff like that. But Blueberry still looks Blueberry. At times it doesn't because it's aged, but then you have the profile look and it's like completely Blueberry because of the broken nose and stuff like that. So I haven't finished that story for like fully, but that craving for Western and Blueberry, of course, being part of it, it just gives me that, especially Mobius drawing it, it's just like, oh, so good. And you're like, oh my God, it's like, oh my God, it's back kind of thing. You discover something new again. So I really enjoyed reading.
Some of those, they really are, like, it's good that they exist, because they can really be timeless. Like, they can really just exist forever. Like we were talking about, it's nice to have a good ending. It's also nice to have some of those characters where you can just come back and revisit it and, still kind of be in that world and get a little bit of a story and visit them at different times in their life. And, just to get that complete picture of this character. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, it's as I say, people get in trouble. People like heads necks been slit and that kind of killers. There's this maniac who's pretending to be an Indian, and killing people basically by slitting their throats, draining their blood, and then giving that as sacrifice and stuff like that. It's like, but he looks really great as a character. I can't show you because I don't have my tablet with me at the moment. But yeah, it's definitely, the art wise, it's superb as always. Like, it's top notch. It's like another thing you want to get. And I was looking at to see if they have them in like those formats, the English formats used to, nothing in English. Plenty in French if you want. You can read French, of course. Like 500 like options to buy. Which one do you want? Which, and nothing in English. It's like, oh my God, so frustrating.
So do you know the timeline of, like, I'm assuming that this is well into his time as kind of being Mobius and doing the sci-fi stuff. I'm sure this is, kind of past that, where, because I know that the Jean Giraud stuff, he kind of was that one personality, or that one person was very Blueberry, and then he discovered this other voice, and Mobius kind of rose up. So, I mean, I'm assuming that would be kind of interesting to see after he's done a bunch of the sci-fi stuff, how that would affect the style.
Well, the thing is, when I remember I was talking about that Young Blueberry I was reading. So Young Blueberry came out right after the original Blueberry came out. Yeah. So we had something to tell, and they wanted to tell, I guess audience wanted to know how he actually been Blueberry kind of thing. So, and in that time, if there's some information he's actually sharing with Mobius himself, because he was telling what he was using as a drawing material. So he was using So when he was drawing, he was saying, because he was new kind of thing, and he had this chance to do these things, and he had that the guy who was I forgot, Gillet, who was his mentor. So he was getting a lot of inspiration and help from him, and he was using a quilt in that time. But now I'm mixing. I don't know what he was using throughout which time, but I'm not sure in this story, which I'm reading of Mr. Blueberry, the timeline will release, to be honest, because when I find something, I just completely like get it, and I don't, just get excited to read it. But actually, it would be interesting to know when in specific time he was doing that, because as I say, when you look at the art, it looked easy for him. It looks so. The streets we was drawing was perfect. I mean, like movie scenes. To be honest, it's like the ability of that man's ability to draw is crazy levels, because they were like, it didn't feel like, like sometimes maybe the perspective looks a bit crooked, but that was just like perfect, like you could just stand there and be just on the lookout, kind of thing, and observe the action kind of thing. So so I don't know, honestly, I can't tell you when it was released, because as I say, I don't know. I wish I had it on the paper format that will tell me when the release time was originally, but as I said,
it's hard to tell, because there was Young Blueberry, Marshall Blueberry, Lieutenant Blueberry. Mr. Blueberry is new to me. I didn't know here. I've heard of this before. So I mean, there's so many of the series, so many of the stuff that's come out.
Yeah, I'll go on my phone, or maybe.
Hi. One of the things that was leading. One of the thoughts that popped in my head. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, or if anybody in the chat has seen the Genndy Tartakovsky show, Primal, the animated show about the caveman and a dinosaur. There's 10 episodes. Me and my son just finished watching them last night. One of the things that jumped out, amongst many things in that show, it's an incredible show, first of all. But one of the things that jumped out is the backgrounds and the environment of that is, it really has that kind of European, or the Mobius kind of feel to it, because some of the line work in the backgrounds and things are that very similar style. Like you can feel like, one nice clean line, incredible stuff.
So I watched the first episode. I found it.
Oh, you did? Yeah, nice.
And thank you. I cried my eyes out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a hell of a start, right?
What the fuck? I was like, what are you on about? It's like, it's not for me crying of whatever day-to-day life. Now I'm watching cartoon, and I'm gonna sob my eyes out. And the face he had afterwards, that scene where he was on the top of the mountain or somewhere, and you have that moon or sunshine coming up from the sky, and there's this family on that, like a perfect drama kind of scene.
Yeah.
What the hell? Yeah. I was so serious.
The thing with the show is, it just like, I mean, it starts out strong. It starts out almost like I don't want to spoil too much of it, considering who's here and maybe they've seen it or haven't seen it. But honestly, give it a shot. So it's mostly a silent show throughout the whole thing. There's no dialogue aside from like screaming and grunting and all these kind of things. But the stories themselves, like, they just get better, because it boggles, like I'm nearly speechless about it, because it boggles my mind the level of skill that to have in controlling these environments and seeing the way that he's putting the story out there without a stitch of fucking dialogue. And then the thing because one of the things that bugged me at first, it was like, why did he have to have a caveman and a dinosaur? Like, that's such a cop out. It's such a whatever. But now now that I'm used to it, and now that I've seen, because I mean, some of the later stories, he just goes off. Like he goes off because it's like if we've already established that we're going to deal with a reality that isn't really a reality. This is what we're going to do with that. Like, I don't want to spoil anything for you because there's a couple episodes later on where it's like, what the absolute fuck? It's unbelievable. And I mean, like I said, we finished watching it last night. We watched the 10th episode, and same thing with WandaVision. It's like, I need more of this. Like, this can't be it. You got to do more. I don't know. I did a little bit of research last night to see if there's any plans for any other episodes on the IMDb page. It does have another season scheduled, but there's no information. I wasn't able to find any information. It was ordered 5 episodes first, and then based on those 5 episodes, there was another 5 episodes ordered. So that's why it got to the 10. But honestly, it's gut-wrenching. Like you said, that first episode shocked the shit out of us, with what was going on in there. It was like, what the hell? But it really sets the stage for everything that happens.
Yeah.
And honestly, Damien, like, give it a shot. Anybody watching, if you can find it, I found it online. It's an Adult Swim show, so you can, if you're in the States, you can stream it from their website, I believe. Up here in Canada, we can't, unfortunately. So, well worth it. And the animation style itself also changes. Like we were talking with Mobius, these last couple episodes, I didn't take a close look at seeing who the animators were, but it feels like there was a shift in the animation style and in his kind of the way the main character moves and the motion of the character. That's always something that has interested them. Like when they did Samurai Jack, they did a lot of stuff where they filmed a martial artist and then mimicked those positions and postures and stuff like that. It feels like they did a really great level of detail with this kind of thing too, like research, because the style just gets better and better. Because the first handful of episodes, you can really feel the characters sitting on top of a background. They don't always mesh with the background, I've found, but that really starts to kind of get addressed later on with the episodes where they really feel like they're all part of the same world, because there is a real, almost like a Java animation kind of feel to the characters for the first few. It's still a great story. There's nothing wrong with it, but it sits differently on the plane than the background does. It doesn't feel like the same world, but
yeah. Well, the thing is, this is crazy, by the way. I show you the blueberry. That's how he looks now. That's the only cover I found.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
So it's this one, basically the story where it's come from is that it's tome 24. So I don't know how many tomes he has released with him drawing it, especially because, as I say, the young blueberry definitely knows the last one, because they released one of the stories already not drawn by Mobius anyway. So so I think that's really the last thing's happening. But yeah, definitely. Oh my God, if something comes out of the blueberry, it will be a difficult bar to set, basically, because of the beauty of it. But yeah, the primal that did, as I said, this first episode, I don't like first I was like, wow, it had the really good scene. You have him go fishing, and then the detail of just like throwing the spear into the water to catch the fish and the blood pouring. That's just beautiful. That's a really well thought of animation part. And I stopped watching it at the first episode because I actually wanted to tell my husband, which I forgot about. But I'll mention him back, and then hopefully we'll watch together, because I think I think he would like it, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's really, I didn't expect what I mean. I knew there's something gonna happen, but I didn't know. Like, he doesn't tell you what's gonna happen. Like, he just goes there, goes fishing, and there's this ginormous crocodile comes after him, and he's basically shrugs him off. Everything is cool. He's going back home, apparently, whatever cave that was, and then he sees the problem happening, and then from there it's like, oh my God! And then the way, like, without, like, no, like, not, it's gonna happen, kind of thing, and you like, they flip them in the air, and it's blood everywhere. It's like, Oh my
Yeah.
God! It's
And
just like
that's the
that.
one thing I would say, like, especially Damien, if you're watching it, yes, it's
Yeah.
animated, but everybody should remember that it is on Adult Swim. Like
Yeah.
with the Gendy Tartakovsky's cuff in the past, there's been
Yeah.
some violence, but it's been like robots. This is ultra violent. Like there is every single episode, there is blood and guts. Like there is some sort of violence. So just be wary. Those of you with children in the house,
Yeah.
who may be sensitive to that sort of thing. It really is violent. So it's fair warning. It is violent, and it doesn't let up. And I don't feel like the violence distracts from it, or it hasn't, at least from me. It is shocking because I've followed his career for so long, and I've been a fan of, like, he did Dexter's Laboratory, he did Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, etc. Like I've loved everything that he's done. Right. I'm a big fan. So it is jarring in as far as like, holy shit, it's weird seeing him do violent stuff. His other shows like Samurai Jack, there was violence in it. There was fighting every single episode, but it's robots, you know what I mean? So instead of blood, it's like motor oil, and instead of entrails, it's like these cables and wires. So it's kind of detached, but definitely this one has violence for sure. So yeah.
I kind of knew it because I was watching it on when my son was asleep. I was like, okay, I have time to just like couple of times. I was like looking, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to. I didn't know who released it in this country anyway, in UK especially. It's kind of difficult to find out. But then suddenly this one channel is showing apparently, and I was like, okay, that's weird. So I went and I found that first episode. I watched it. I was like, as I say, I was shocked. The first what happened, I was shocked. And then the second thing what happened afterwards when he got that dinosaur, how he became with him. I was like, what the fuck again? It's almost the same kind of thing. That's why they have a commonality kind of thing. We in common because we have charity of both of our sides. But anyway, it's just like crazy. But the way he was like fighting in the scenes and the growl in his face, and then I'm should I do it because I'm like grudging them because somebody did the same thing to my own family, let's say this way. I don't want to spoil it. I'm trying to look for the right words so before I spoil it. But anyway, and then his face of fighting his face, like that feelings of, do I help or do I not help kind of thing. And he's like growls again, and he just goes for it. It's beautiful. I mean, the colors are spectacular.
They really are. And again, like that's something that gets better too. I feel like they just, I don't know what happens, but it feels like they really get I don't know. They really get a grasp on things, because as the episodes go, the coloring, the colors get better, the backgrounds get better, the animation of the main characters get better, the movement and the way they move through space gets better, the storytelling gets better. It just honestly is one of those shows that it starts out strong and just continues to get better so far. I'm incredibly pleased. And then again, watching this 10th episode is like, dude, that's where you're going to end it. This fucking better come back. This had better get some more episodes, because I need some more. I need another 10, easily another 10.
And afterwards you would say, I need another 10. Yeah. Afterwards you'll say, no, I need another 10 after that. Those 10.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I hope that he has some idea of what story he's going to tell and how it's going to end. I have a feeling how it's going to end. I have suspicions, but what the hell do I know? But it just, and the development, and again, the hardest thing to do is doing something that's no dialogue and no communication. And I think they pull it off, because a couple of episodes, just getting their relationship, like the dinosaur and the caveman's relationship, you can see that kind of back and forth and how they're playing on that, and that develops. Very, very impressive. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's I honestly, if you say it was better, I didn't feel like after first episode, everything, the coloring, the simplicity actually really worked for me, because the action, like you say, no dialogue and anything, but then it actually kind of works, because if you have overcomplicated backgrounds and stuff like that, would to narrate the story behind something so complicated would be more difficult to actually portray the emotions. But like just those leaps he's doing, it like simplicity of that is actually really worked for me. So I don't know, I have not watched any more episodes after the first one, but as I say, I was like, what the hell is he said, go watch it, and then I watched it and I got my eyes out. It's like, what's gonna happen next then? because I guess it caught me in the right moment, the right time, like be like, oh, I'm so sensitive, I need to cry now, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it caught me off guard. Okay,
Yeah.
let's go that
And
way.
then cursing my name as
No,
you're
it
watching.
wasn't.
God damn, Terrence, Jesus.
No, I was like, it's a good thing. I like it's a good animation, which is like kind of sometimes it's nice watching simplistic way of telling animations these days because everything is computerized, overly perfect kind of thing, which becomes a little bit more boring. And I was like thinking about that Samurai Jack. I was like, I want to kind of introduce that to my son. I was like thinking, when do I do that? But his attention span is so thin at the moment because he's still growing into whatever. But just showing him something new, he goes like completely berserk on me. It's like, no, I don't want to see. I want just to see whatever I'm watching. Kind of, he has his own like almost his own TV, like a TV guide of, he sets whatever he wants to watch and that's it. But the thing is, it's funny because while like you try to introduce him to some animation stuff, and he's like, we let him watch his own things, what picking up, especially the tablet wise, because we don't want him to be completely fascinated by tablet or especially that ability of technology, and we want him to play more with his toys and everything like that. So he only gets like an hour a day now. So we're cutting complete. I said to my husband, I'm cutting it. He's not allowed to do that anymore because I want him to interact with his own toys. I want him to play up his own mind, what he can play with and more. And now we bought him, actually talking about that primal and dinosaurs, he has 2 dinosaurs now. He had 1. So I bought him T-Rex, quite a big, like plastic toy, quite a big one. But I wanted him another, so I bought him another dinosaur now. I don't remember the name now. Forget me. I forgot what's the name of it. Anyway, so, and then I was like, okay, to see if actually he's excited. And he was so excited. So he gave me both of them and showed me, like basically says to me, show me how to interact with them. So I started like growling and making all those noises and then fighting together. And he went bonkers. He was so excited. He was jumping around. Oh my God, do it again kind of thing, like so. So it's like, this is it. That's why I want it for my child. I don't want him to watch anymore everything on the screen. I actually want him to be interactive with the toys because that's what's going to create your brainwave, like proper think in your head. So anyway,
speaking of dinosaurs, March in March, Godzilla vs. Kong is coming. Yes.
No way.
I cannot wait. We've been waiting with my son. Yeah, it's made. It's been done. It's done. It comes out in March. So they did the Godzilla one, and then they did the Kong movie. And as soon as they announced the Godzilla one, they had talked about they're going to do a Kong, and they were going to do a Monster Island thing, and they were going to do eventually a Kong versus Godzilla. So it was supposed to come out in, I think, May or June. They've pulled it back now to March. It is going to be in the theaters, but it's also going to be on some sort of streaming. I don't remember which one. One of the 97 streaming services that are out there. So you're going to be able to see it at home. I cannot wait. They literally have, there's a 3-second clip out there. There's no trailer yet or anything. The 3-second clip looks badass as Godzilla comes bursting out of the water to land on this ship. And then Kong punches him in the face and knocks him on his ass. 3-second clip. It looks completely amazing. And it's going to be exactly that. Like, again, this whole thing of like, what's the story going to be? Fuck the story. It's going to be 2 giant monsters beating the shit out of each other for 90 minutes, and it's going to be incredible. You know what I mean? So I cannot wait. One of the things I want. Go ahead, go ahead.
I enjoy this kind of movies, to be honest. I like those. Like sometimes me and my husband's like, oh, shall we watch something more like meaningful, like kind of more thought-provoking things? Like, no, shit, dude, just watch somebody fighting each other. It's fine, perfectly fine. Like Kaiju Max kind of thing, and like whatever. Let's just watch this shit. It's absolute like stupid story, but it's just fighting. It's a big monsters kind of fighting each other. It's perfectly fine to watch.
Hey man, there's nothing wrong with that kind of stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Mind the Comics and Paulo are still in the room because I feel like I wanted to show you guys this one. I'm only going to show you some things in here, even though this is my channel. There is a limit to some of the things. It's one of the dirtier comics I think I've ever read. It's something, but and somebody pointed it out on Twitter as well too, that it looked like the Hernandez brothers. There's some beautiful beautiful art in this book.
Whoa.
Really kind of simple style. And I mean, look at this shadow on the face there and stuff. But that is really like a Hernandez, Love and Rockets looking character there.
Yeah.
So the premise is she's sort of a Dr. Frankenstein, and she's created this Frankenstein's monster out of body parts of dead people, basically, and brought it to life. And its main purpose is pleasure, which I'll show you some panels there. So its main purpose is pleasure. So they're traveling and they crash on an island. They crash on an island, and they find these upper echelon kind of rich society type people who are having a party. And I won't show you those pages. And so they're having a party, and they mistake her for one of the guests that was supposed to come to this party, and she takes advantage of it because they need fuel for their ship that's crashed. So she then goes to this party, and everything ensues from there. But again, like, I'll show you some of these pages are okay because it's just naked. But I mean, it's stunning art in its simplicity, right? Like, it's really, really simple stuff. There is a real, I don't know, there was some moments that was like, what the fuck are you showing me here? Like, it's mildly disturbing, and I don't know if it's more disturbing because the art is so kind of clean. But there's some shit that happens in here that's just kind of grotesque for the sake of being grotesque, which, I mean, you know, I'm a fan of underground comics like the next 40-year-old pervert. I mean, even some of this was a little bit too much for me. But the thing with this book was when I looked online, I couldn't find too much information other than this Magnus is actually a pseudonym for two different creators. And I can't remember, but yeah, it is Italian. 1991 is when the first edition came out. And then this Catalan Communications came out in July 1991. So later on the same year, and they don't have their names here. So Necron is the name of the character. And I guess there was 3 different books from Catalan, but beautiful, beautiful art, like page after page of this gorgeous, simple style with some amazing just shadowing the blacks in there and stuff, like really, really great. But the one but it just goes to an area that I just wasn't quite expecting. This was another one from my comic shop that I took a chance on, again, solely because it was Catalan. It did say adults only, but again, when I see Catalan Communications, like, I'm going to give it a shot, right? I'm going to give some of these things a shot. But yeah, that's some dirty comics there. Yeah, Jaime Hernandez would be proud. And the other one that I read that I just want to talk about briefly was Sam Glanzman's Atu, which the story itself was just okay. There's a little bit of a history here from Stephen Bissett, pardon me, an introduction, and how he first became aware of Glanzman through like war comics and that sort of thing. War comics, the Glanzman comic for me as a youngster was Kona, Monarch of Monster Isle. There's 21 issues from 1961 to 1967. That was kind of the one that was for him. And then they just kind of talk briefly about his history in comics. And then this one, again, because Four Winds was Timothy Truman. And I always forget the name of the other individual associated with it. I've blanked on it anyway. So because it was creator owned, and I think they were distributed through Eclipse, this was a character that he created for this. And so, I mean, he retained the rights to it, all of that kind of stuff. I don't know if they ever did other books, but this one, it was a fun read. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It didn't, it feels like there was some potential to it, right? Like it was this, again, like this kind of caveman of sorts, getting thrust into a spot where he discovers this like a time machine. So it feels like it's a really nice setup. He finds this woman that's in kind of this kind of sleep stasis, and he can't figure out the technology. You're getting his internal monologue where he keeps calling it, she's surrounded by this thick air or whatever, and he's trying to bust her out of it. Really entertaining, you know, and again, like, it was just so nice, and I really wish he would have had more success with this line, because he came out with a couple of things through this 4 weeks that I would love to have seen get some more releases. And Ryan is saying that his war comics are amongst the best made. And oh, really? Hey, I don't know if that's popping up. I feel like my computer's freezing up. Am I freezing up on you there, or is it going still?
You're a bit like sticky.
Hey, it's sticky. That's what I've heard. Gansman invented the Autobio comic years before Crumb or Justin Green. Interesting. I would be curious to see some of those there, Ryan. I'll have to dig for some of that. So that was a fun read for sure. You know, as we end up talking about a lot, there's so much out there. It's so great to kind of keep discovering this stuff, you know. So, and then I also picked up yesterday from the local, my local friend in town here. He had a couple of more of these Funny World magazines. So I grabbed those as well because they were a good price. The one article that I started reading in this issue, there's actually an article on coloring in underground comics, and they talk about Victor Moscoso's Color comic. It's just called Color. They talk about Greg Iron's Light. They talk about a couple of other comics, and basically he just shits on them so far from what I've read of the article. He doesn't think that the coloring is very good, where at the time, but his whole premise for that is that he feels that the coloring in these underground comics should be pushing the boundaries of the art itself, which is an interesting approach to it. One of the ones that he starts talking about too is Up From the Deep, which is Corbin. And then the other surprise in this one is there's a Corbin color strip in here that I haven't, a color story in here that I haven't seen before. And again, it's this fucking impeccable Corbin art with this just stunning colors here. Like that orange is amazing against that backdrop. You know,
that's
really,
it has to be
really
painted.
stunning. Yeah, it has to be. And then look at the face on this guy. Oh, focus, you bastard. There we go. Sort of focused. Just amazing. And like I said, I can't place the story. I don't know if I've seen it reprinted in anything that I have. So that was a nice surprise to kind of have in the middle of this. I guess one of the things with this Funny World, from when I've been reading the editorials at the beginning, is that's what he wanted. It turned into more of a just animation magazine. And there's a couple issues they talk about Carl Barks and people like that, right? And they really focus on just animation. But I guess at one point he wanted it to be animation, underground comics, that sort of thing. Like I said, I don't find any other issues than these ones. I've never seen a Funny World #1 out there in my searches. It's just not a magazine that comes up very often. And then there's the end of that Corbin one there. Nice. But interesting reads, man, and especially from this time, you know, because this is what I believe 72. Yeah, so this one is 1972, this issue. And like I said, just to read this filming of Fritz the Cat and talking to Ralph Bakshi and just talking about the state of animation at the time, like Fritz the Cat was going to be this groundbreaking character that was going to turn on adults to animation and help them realize that, you know, there's a world of storytelling here that doesn't get explored enough because everybody thinks that cartoons are just for kids, and show some of his sketches and that sort of thing. And some sketches from Bakshi that really are like Crumb. It feels like he was really channeling Crumb at that time. And then, of course, they talk about Crumb because notoriously Crumb hates this movie. And it's the reason why he killed off Fritz the Cat in the comic books. He just absolutely thinks they completely fucked it up. But whatever. That's Crumb for you. So, yeah, I mean, that's been my reading. But like I said, this whole 500 comics hashtag has been just a great thing to dive into, and I see now John DaCosta has started up on it. Chaos and Comics is doing it, and a bunch of other people that I follow are doing it as well too. So it's a cool thing to just kind of see what everybody's reading and keep track of what you've read through the year.
So I found that information about that supposed resurrecting on Blueberry story. So so apparently it was a 64-page story on the album, as they call it, and it's published by Dargot. I don't know how to pronounce that properly. But anyway, 70,000 copy circulation apparently. They store in. It says the story begins with a tragedy. 3 young whites in a religious community led by an iron guru murdered 2 women from Apache tribe. The 2 victims are the wife and the daughter of the warrior named Bitterness. This double crime risks triggering a new Indian war unless Lieutenant Blueberry, witness of the crime but arrived too late on the scene of the tragedy, manages to get his hands on the young assassins. Story starts. So it's kind of typical your Blueberry story start kind of thing. Interesting because I looked it up of that publisher, but nothing of that story I can find. So I don't know if it's actually been released, but this article was written in 2019. So
okay.
So I'm not sure if it's actually in fruition, but that would be. But of course, it's going to be in French.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're never gonna us mere people who only read in English or Lithuanian. Yeah, mere mortals, exactly. Who I read Lithuanian, so I can 2 languages. Okay, I'm not that kind of simpleton. I would say I can't read French. Okay.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's just always a surprise that these things don't get translated automatically. I'm surprised there's not a better relationship with North American publishers to have them come out at the same time, but obviously that's for a reason. I mean, I assume there's just not a market, so maybe. It's not like there's tons of us out there talking about these things, so
only couple championing for English releases, please.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna keep on talking. Maybe they will hear us.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah. Anyways.
Cool. That's it for me, really. I got nothing else comic-wise. I mean, it's rolling up to 5 here. We've got a couple hours. What do you got? Yeah, Scumbag. Oh, yeah, I don't have mine close.
I read it. So I read the story. Yeah, so you said you like.
Right.
Yes, number 3. Yeah. So, as I say, it's Eric Powell on the art, and actually, you know what? I don't think I loved it. To be honest, it's hard to hear. I really like the artist, like that overly complicated art style we have from the original artist from the beginning. But the story, I was surprised what this bomb is made from or how it's going to come in fruition. It's like, and of course you have a scumbag. Gold! Gold! It's like, it's a bomb! Gold! That I loved. Because you have him. It's just he's like the guy who is doesn't have boundaries of whatever is besting him. It doesn't matter, and you have that female in his head who's like, this is a bomb. It's gold.
Yeah.
And then how he's like this guy came to like the muscle of the bad guys. And then he's punching him. It's like, why are my powers is not working? And apparently there's a twist to his powers. And of course, it's kind of like a bit cliche and cheesy, but this fight scenes wasn't bad. But I think what's going to happen next issue, which is at the end, and this page, it threw me off a little bit because this is like what is this space? Are we talking space creatures coming in? Or?
It looks like it. It's been a minute since I've read it, but yes, that's how I remember it. Or at least that's how I read it anyway.
And then they showing him his toys, what he's he's asked.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's just so I honestly, to be honest, as I say, I think the art threw me off a bit more than I usually does. I really like Eric Powell. I love this goon, but it doesn't have that. I guess he wanted to be in the sense of the same of what original artist has done, so he kind of like copied in a way, but I feel like they should have just continued. Like, if you have your name on the comic book, I think people are expecting your art style to be on that comic book, not being copying somebody else's. Not copying. That's a really wrong word to use, but do you know what I mean? Making sense of, like, if Scumbag looks the same, then where's the same? We will kind of understand who he is and what it is. But in that sense, and the coloring, it bothered me a little bit even furthermore. From like, got a little bit distracted, but honestly, the dialogue and everything felt. I mean, that gold part is just, I can't stop laughing just thinking about it. It's like, bomb, no gold, and then and what he decides to do with it is like, what the fuck? But no wonder why he's a scumbag at the end of the day. And that's what we're reading about. So so yeah, as I say, I know you said that you weren't like really keen on it. What was the problem with it for you?
There was no real problem. It just was just okay. Like, it's, it just feels like it's going to be a story that, I think this is just what we're going to get. And I'll continue with it, but I want something a little more than it just feels like it's going to be a one note kind of book, which again, there's nothing wrong with one note books. I mean, I read shit like that all the time. It's just this one, I think I was hoping for a little bit more because of the premise, but I have a feeling it's going to be this one note. Or, I mean, the one thing that you touched on there with his powers is he's got to believe in it, I think is what it was, right? Like, he's got to actually believe it. And
no. It's it's not a belief. It's actually, he needs to think good stuff. Like, he needs to do something good in order for powers to kick in. So if he does, he's always going to be selfish.
Good intentions. That's right. Yeah.
And I like the way that kid who was in that place where he's going to be at the moment, that kid kept in his face like, what? I'm going to just kill you. And I'm going to extract that thing from you. So, yeah, but this is kind of, I mean, whatever he's going to go with that. But the next issue cover, oh, come on. If that's going to be something like that, it's superb. Absolutely, I want this. Like, I really want this. And then, because that looks crazy, and of course, it looks like your, not for kids edition for sure. And then so I'm looking forward. I don't know. It just, as I say, it felt like, like all those comic books when you read monthly. I mean, if you read them in collected issue, it wouldn't happen like this. But it's like a fill-in thingy before something else going to happen. And apparently, according to Mr. Rick Remender, the next issue is going to be the best issue ever. But that's how he sells it, I mean, take it or leave it. But, we'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and we fully expect a video from that. You hinted at it on Twitter, and I expect a video, my friend, because I mean, it's a book that I've wanted to read, and I have seen it in the shops before, and I just honestly have never really given it a second look, and clearly I need to give it a second and third look and just actually pick it up, because he was raving about it. So I'm curious to hear him speak about it. Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Scumbag, like, it feels like I said, I'm going to keep picking it up, but it feels like it's going to kind of, as it's already doing, it's going to work its way down the list. It'll be like, oh, I'll read it third. Oh, maybe I'll read it fourth. I'll read it next week. It just feels like one of those stories where, I don't know, it's got to do something to engage me a little more in the next issue. Because like I said, it's not that it's shit. It's it's perfectly fine reading, but it's just kind of like, give us something else. I feel like we've got the idea that he's a scumbag. Now give us the next part of the story, instead of kind of putting in these scenarios that he's going to just be a scumbag in for the rest of the issue. And maybe that's what it's going to be. But I just feel like if it doesn't engage me soon, it's going to move its way down the list.
Yeah. Well,
it's hard, it's a solid list already. Cause I mean, like I said, when that Neil Gaiman book comes in, you're going to have to do a lot of work to beat that one. Cause it's just so much fun.
You mean the Nordic, the Thor story, or
exactly. Yeah.
The mythos. Okay, cool. I mean, I've heard you raving about it. The same thing. I think even Damien was talking about in his video about talking that he's really enjoying it. I think
it's a fantastic.
I think if it's gonna get collected in hardcover, that would be a pleasant to read.
Yeah,
because it's Dark Horse, isn't it?
Yes, it is Dark Horse. Yeah, I believe so. If Damien's here, you can. I'm pretty sure it's Dark Horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one to keep your eyes out for is Daniel Warren Johnson is doing another series. The guy that did Wonder Woman: Dead Earth, he's doing a Beta Ray Bill story for Marvel. So I think that's going to be the next one. I've already added to my pull list. I emailed my shop and said, make sure you get that one in for me because I want to see that.
Wow, committed straight away. Jeez.
I know, gotta commit. Yeah, gotta get it. Because if he does anything like he did in Wonder Woman, it's going to be entertaining.
Honestly, I was looking at to see because they came out with hardcover already.
Yeah.
Of that
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, but like I'm kind of, I don't know who I should go for. Like what I want. What's the first thing for me? I want just to see. Give me a second. The name. I want to talk about this guy. Oh, jeez, doesn't say who's the writer. So the BPRD guy who wrote the story with Mignola. What's his name now? It's gonna bother. He's the one who wrote Rumble. Because if Damon is here still, he would know exactly who I'm talking about. Anyway, so I was watching a video of somebody talking about it because they were doing an interview with him, and apparently he was talking to your. Oh my God! You just spoke about this guy. What's wrong with me with names? I'm just like under pressure. Like, unfortunate death. What is his name? The guy who died just recently. What is his name?
Corbin.
There you go. So apparently he was John Arcudi. Thank you, Ryan C. You see, names are wrong with me, like always. Anyway, so John Arcudi had apparently was in talks with a Corbin to do the job, and then he died. Could you believe?
Wow!
I was like, what would you have worked with? But he wasn't saying what exactly he was gonna work. I guess there's no point now because Corbin's not here anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's kind of sad. And also he was talking about apparently they saying that he was telling them while he was interviewing them is that DC's think what's happening in DC is really actually really, really bad. And he's really afraid that DC might even stop being in existence. That's his own opinion. That's just his opinion. Because like when you work for somebody or in comic book industry, you know each other and they talk. I guess I presume so. But they're saying that the actual DC's the house of DC's comic books is in real trouble, especially of the COVID and all that bullshit, and of course they being bought by the company who doesn't really care about them anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, and they're firing people left and right from what I've heard.
Yeah, exactly. So interesting. But anyway, I'm gonna blab this out so you guys can speculate.
No, for sure. Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's something. It's bound to happen at some point. You know what I mean? Like it's clear that things are shifting. It's clear that the market is shifting. It's clear that if you want to get into something, it's getting into movies. It's getting into TV. Like. Yes, there's still a bunch of people that read these books, but it's just, it's not going to last forever. It just won't be here forever. Some of those companies, there'll still be comics. There'll still be other companies, but I mean, maybe some of these big ones will just fade away. They won't put out stuff anymore. Who knows? Like, I guess we'll see. But I'm curious.
I would be surprised if Marvel Monsters would not exist because they kind of know what they're doing. It seems to be people like, I mean, I'm not pulling Marvel comic books, new books, but there's lots of people who did. So, but I like in DC, I haven't had a DC comic book, new one, especially, even though those Black Labels were used to be getting me interested, but I just kind of like stopped. Not saying that I don't like them. I actually do enjoy more DC than Marvel, to be honest. I remember when having a pull list, my DC was dominated by it rather than Marvel. But as I say, it's like lately, nothing really interested me, kind of thing, what they have drawn. But now you have, who is it? There's somebody who's really, of course, this is the name I need to remember, and I forgot because I am talking to you about it. But anyway, somebody who is quite well known is going to be doing some Batman story, and it's not, of course, Batman, because that's the only thing they can sell, like whatever Batman is coming out. So, but I think the creative team is changing in March and April or something like that. So maybe the Tinian the Fourth is stopping doing the Batman then, I guess.
Yeah.
Because he was doing detective, then he jumped to Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Because his detective line was really good apparently, and the Batman stories, like of whatever I've heard, is good as well. But apparently there's maybe they're doing something in like they're gonna release all the Batman books so just to make money. So it doesn't matter which lore or if it's gonna continue with the continuation and stuff like that. But yeah, just hearing a lot of stuff about comic books is kind of nice, but so much information is like digest the things and stuff, like what people are creating and stuff. So but interesting.
Well, and I mean, and then there's the speculation about the industry too, which is just I don't know. That's an all day affair, like just speculating about what's going to happen. It's like, I mean, anything could happen at any point. You know, like all comics could be done tomorrow for all we know, right? Like, you know, the only thing is like just knowing that there's still some good stuff coming out from those companies. You know what I mean? Where I obviously I don't keep in touch at all with this stuff. But I mean, it's nice. Like the Wonder Woman was a nice surprise for me. That Dead Earth was a really nice surprise. I thought it was a really solid read. You know, and then a couple of things that I have read from Marvel, which is, you know, limited to nothing these days. I'm trying to think if there's anything from Marvel that I'm even interested in at this point, and I don't think that there is. But I mean, there's still moments where they can do stuff. Oh yeah, I mean that Marvel book, I guess that Ross led kind of compilation. That was an interesting read with all of those artists. But again, for a guy like me, that's the stuff that you're going to get me. You're going to get me reading your books if you're taking chances, if you're getting some creative talent from other areas, from independent that have a completely different voice, and you're giving them a shot with the Marvel characters or the DC characters. That's how you're going to get a guy like my money. And, you know, the 5 of us that are like me, you probably don't want our money, but it just feels like there's so many areas that all of these companies could be exploring that they're just not. And again, I get it. You got your things that sell. I totally understand it. I just feel like it's too bad because there's a lot of talent out there to draw from, really give yourself a fresh voice. And honestly, they just really have to just drop this whole fucking Bible of everything that's come before to some degree. Like, just drop that shit. It's not fucking working. It's not working. You're not getting people interested where now they have to go back and read 40 years of fucking comics. It just ain't working. Just create more outlets for people to have these individual, unique stories. Still have your stuff that has like the lineage, and I see the appeal, but give more outlets for these kind of one-off stories. Give more people a chance to do something that is their own thing, like a bunch of miniseries, you know, like they were trying to do with the Black Label, but don't call it fucking Black Label where we got to put a cock in it just to sell it. Like, get the fuck out of here with that. It's stupid, right? It's not doing it legitimately. Like, do something legitimately as opposed to just trying to fucking cash in on Batwang. You know what I mean? Like, it's nonsense. And like, no, I'm not saying, but I mean, the thing is, like, that Dead Earth was just such a good read. It was so good, and it was so out there, and it was so wild. The art style was wild, and it was just, it was so great to read that. It was like, give me more of, not this exact story, but give me more of this type of thing. And I'll come back and I'll buy some more of your books. Like, give me more. Give me something more adventurous instead of this fucking nonsense. Like, again, like the other thing that I read, this is actually the perfect thing to talk about.
Whoa.
And here it is right here. The other thing that I read this week was this.
Ooh, a Batman?
Yeah, a Batman. Well, and I bought it because of of the artist. But again, no, this is exactly the thing that I'm talking about. They gave it to James Stokoe, and they said, "Hey, it's a fucking Batman comic." So you're getting me buying a goddamn Batman comic. And the thing that drives me fucking crazy about these comics is, yet again, we have another story where it's, you know, goddamn Joker, and it's another story about why we can't kill the bad guys and why, like, how many fucking times are you going to dive into that storyline? But the thing is, they just continually do that. There's still this, after all these years, we still have to talk about the challenge that Batman faces and not killing somebody and like what that means and blah, blah. Like, give me a fucking break. So I hated the story. Like, I hated it. I loved the art, but I hated the fucking story until I got to, and this is where it pulls it out of the water a little bit for me, because it's in line with kind of my thoughts with kind of what's going on in the world. Like, how can you kind of, all of the shit that's going on politically, everything that's going on in the world, I promise I'm not going to get too much into it. So how do you feel not overwhelmed by some of that stuff, right? Like, how do you kind of deal with that anxiety that comes with, there's horrible shit going on everywhere and there's fuck all that I can do about it. So he's talking, the main character is Leslie Tompkins, I believe is her name, right? The one who kind of found Bruce and kind of helped him and is kind of there for him. And she starts talking to this character about that, like, hey, why don't you come and work with me? Why don't you come and have some, where you can have some chance to see some change here, like with me locally in our neighborhood. And that's where it got me, because all of this other lead up shit was just the same old fucking bullshit from Batman comics that I'm sick and goddamn tired of. But then I felt it did a really nice job drawing this in, because this whole book is kind of how the world feels. What the hell are you going to do when I'm just some kid who just wants to sit around, play video games, live my life as a teenager, but I've had this horrible traumatic thing that's happened to me. I put my faith in a character like Batman, because Batman says to him, like, don't worry, I'm going to help you. I'm going to get, not revenge. He doesn't use the word revenge, but I'm going to go and take care of this. And he watches, this kid watches, and what he expects is that he's going to go and kill the Joker. He's like, but instead, what do I see? The Joker keeps coming back. He keeps killing people. Batman still doesn't do anything about it. And I mean, I feel like it's a really good analogy for what goes on politically. You have these politicians who make you these promises. They're not fucking doing anything about it. So what can you do? The only way to deal with some of those emotions is doing something locally. So what can I do locally? What can I do for my neighborhood? What can I do to kind of make me feel a little better about the world? So for 90% of it being absolute horse shit, it was nice to have it pulled out of the fire a little bit by the end. And then the other positive thing that I'll say about it is that Stokoe's art seems to get better and better every time I check in with him. I really enjoy the fact that he's got a handle on his color palette, because it's the same colors that he uses for every single book. This one is so much more subdued, and I feel like it works a lot better than I've seen it in other books of his. I feel like the colors ended up dominating the page, which isn't a bad thing because it really gave him a style. But I really like where he's coming from in this book, because his art, I think, is beautiful. It's really, really beautiful stuff. And I would love to see him do more. But again, like, this is what I'm talking about. Give me artists like this and I'll pick up your books. Like, I'll give it a shot. I'm not going to buy any more Batman. This is going to be the only, well, except for the animated series stuff that's happening. But give me stuff like that. Give me something where you're taking a little bit of a chance. Give me something where you're going to throw in a different artist. I mean, I bought the Raphael Grandpa story as well, to the Frank Miller. The story I thought was shit, but the art I really, really liked. But you got my money for it. You know what I mean? Like, I paid for it. So that's how you're going to get these people. You got to just kind of try to get a wide swath of people and try to create more that's going to bring in readers and keep them attracted. Right. So, he does have another creator-owned book. Yeah, I saw an announcement of that, Damien. I just don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But
is that an image book?
It probably is, but I don't know for sure. I'm assuming that it is, because that's who he's done his work with in the past. So
okay,
because I know Arkstain was the one that I first saw him on, and I don't think he ever finished it. So sorry, what were we gonna say?
No, I know about DC. I'm talking about the comic books and storylines and all that stuff, and that's why it just feels repetitive. But then, I don't know if you read the older, like Batman comic books. Let's say if you have a chance to have them in your collections and reading them, and the same lady, she appears in there, and it's really well written. Her first appearance, I think, one of the best stories written. But kind like they rehashing the same storyline. She's there. She almost, like, it feels like to me. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but that's my head now. It just popped up. I think she's like a night nurse of the Daredevil universe. Tompkins is the same kind of thing for the Batman anyway. Like that kind of comes in there and it's very, very difficult. She, like she's a doctor at the end of the day. Night nurse is a nurse, blah blah blah. Kind of like medical situation, and then become kind of your psychiatrist. To be honest, she comes there to help him, but then she somehow blabs out everything, whatever's wrong with it, and she just accepts it, and then you like gives him advice and stuff like that. So, in that sense, so yeah. But as I say, it's really difficult to go and commit to something to read now. Like you have, or you put a big name or write a name you think is gonna come out and do something about it, or and be brave enough to tell a storyline, or we're gonna continue like having the Joker and Batman, like the married couple who's really struggling with each other from life to life and blah blah blah, and things like I'm gonna be in and stuff like that. It's difficult to get hold of, especially when you start reading those good stories, like about the Joker. When you have the like like the stories you have from the Frank Miller stuff and Batman and stuff, then you have a who's that, Alan Moore's story, the famous Joker story, which was fantastic.
Yeah, Killing Joke.
Killing Joke, and then still the best comic book about Joker anyway. But a part of that, it's kind of difficult to get hold of it. So
totally. Well, and it feels like maybe there's a part of them that they don't want to, give the reins over to, getting these big names in and getting, so it becomes like this this artist who now is getting that. They just don't know how to loosen up on the reins, and they don't have good control. Like we were talking about with Marvel on like the film creation and TV creation. I'm not comparing the companies. It's just that's what we were talking about at the beginning, where it feels like they have a creative person in control who's got a good sense of how to create these and how everything will work into each other. Yes, we are still dealing with an enormous crossover event, because at the end of the day, to get the full story, you got to go see all the movies. You got to watch all the shows. You're going to get the full story. So they're still dealing with crossovers, which is always going to be problematic. But at least they have someone who's got a vision and who's going for it, where DC doesn't want to let go of those reins, but they don't have a vision, it doesn't feel like, because they just keep trying stuff. And not like Marvel Comics doesn't keep trying stuff, because they do as well. Yeah. It's just the downfall, again, of like mainstream comics. And I don't want to be the guy who's always shitting on mainstream comics, which is why I don't very often. But it is just really a downfall with when you're dealing with a mainstream organization, whether that's film, whether that's TV, whether that's comics, whether it's whatever the entertainment is going to be. The big corporations are going to squash any sort of creativity. It's just in their nature. They will just crush it. It just won't exist. And you'll get some windows of people kind of rising up to the surface. For sure you will. That's always going to happen. 9 times out of 10, no, they'll eventually get hammered down, because they won't know what to do with it, and they'll fuck it up, and then they'll create 97 more things exactly like that, right? Which will then crush it, right? So it just becomes difficult, which is where, going into the independent stuff, going back in time has just been so rewarding. It's like, there's just been so many great stuff. And again, like when I pull out a comic like that, From the Darkness, that vampire story, which again, I'm not a fan of vampire stories, but I read that comic and it's just a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying it from page one. Like that's a good thing, right? There's still all this stuff out there that exists that's just phenomenal. So I was saying to Ryan on Twitter that it feels like this year might be a year where I start digging back into that kind of really independent and, modern day underground as well as older underground. It feels like this will be the year that I start dipping my toes back into that, because again, looking at that Domino site and seeing all those creators there and seeing all these comics that they're doing, some that don't look interesting at all, but some that look really intriguing, just something different. I feel like this will be the year to dig into that stuff again and see what these really micro publishers are doing, and see what kind of stories they have. So, and just stay the hell away from, every once in a while pick up a Marvel and DC when they have a cool artist attached to it, right? So I'll still support that stuff.
Or you just can get the pretty cover.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
this is really pretty cover. Honestly, this is like, it's like proper.
Fantastic covers. Like it really, really does.
Yeah. So just like I didn't show this cover. I just want, because you know why? It's purple in the background. That's why. So
yeah.
Sorry for the glare, but purple rocks and green together is like really cool. Yeah. Maybe I should have posted this comic book with that Hobgoblin comic, so maybe it would sell better.
Yeah.
Lessons to be learned. Lessons to be learned.
That's right. All right. Okay. Let's shut her down.
Yes.
Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you
for hanging out with us. Sorry we missed a bunch of the chat there at the end while I was ranting and raving. We'll just highlight a couple of things here. Want to check out Alice Graham on Twitter? She just posted her entire back catalog online for free. Awesome. I'll make sure that I check that out. You guys at DC think the brands are interchangeable. That's why they're doing a kids version of John Constantine.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So, I mean, thanks very much, everybody, for hanging out. We appreciate it. Come and hang out with us next week. Like I said earlier, if you're not subscribed to Ross's channel, you should go and subscribe, because I think next week we'll be on her channel. We'll kind of go back and forth. Give me a break from hosting every once in a while, and she can set it up and delete people. Although this time we didn't have to block anybody like we did last week, which is good.
Yeah. Of course, which is nice.
Yeah, it's totally nice.
Less job to do.
Yeah. Right on. Okay, thanks very much, everybody, for hanging out, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.